Welcome to Chronic Curiosity, where we have real conversations with real people, from everything to anything, in attempts to facilitate dialogue with our fellow humans, and hopefully your curiosity as well as ours. If you can withstand the show, we ask, most importantly, that you tell your friends and family, but also you can pick up some merch or just donate to the show at chronic-curiosity.com in USD or Bitcoin. If you feel so obliged, you can give us a good rating and follow on whatever podcast platform you so choose. But please feel free to reach out to us on the website or the socials, which can also be found on the website, chronic-curiosity.com. And here we go. Grab some water. I don't know if this, I'll be honest. I haven't had my water like super duper tested to see what's in it, but
Sounds so bad.
no, but it tastes a lot less toxic than any city water I've ever had or any water anywhere else. Yeah, I had some family up recently, and they were
We have a well.
yeah, it's well water, and we have it filtered and everything, but it's well water, and it was like, oh wow, your water is really good. Like, I'm kind of a water snob now. Because I have like if there was a phobia for afraid of being without water, I'd have it. But there's not. I've looked it up.
You could invent your own phobia. Maybe that's not a good idea. But
no, I don't think I need to do that.
I don't think we need any more of those.
I don't think I need to do that. But it was always, I think part of it stems from lifting and, bodybuilding and powerlifting and just push it, like fueling my body with everything. Because I, as at one point it was like 5,000 calories a day just to maintain. I was the guy that carried the gallon of water around because I drank a gallon and a half a day.
Yeah, a gallon of tap water.
Yeah, and it's like, the more and more like I realized like, oh, like this water kind of sucks. I'm like, man, I'm drinking a lot of this, like all these different things. And it was like, oh,
yeah.
But I like having fresh water to drink because if not, like,
do you still like focus on drinking tons of water?
No, not tons. Yeah. No, not nearly, because I'm not nearly getting as many calories in either, or doing a lot of those things. I'm staying hydrated, but I'll average probably like 3/4 of a gallon a day.
Right,
is probably where like I average, but I've always felt good doing it. But you're looking svelte, man.
Thank you.
Looking good. It was. I can't remember. Or trying to remember when was last time your hair was. Like I think it was March-ish or something like that.
I believe so. Around that time. Yeah, I'd say my body weight's about the same, but my composition has changed a lot, and I just feel healthier all around.
Yeah.
Like my energy levels are way higher, and I have lost some strength, and that had like some emotional baggage with it. I was like, I was the guy that
had to go through some things here.
Yeah,
I feel you. Yeah.
So, but yeah. Overall, health is my focus right now, and it is tremendously better than it was even 6 months ago.
That's awesome.
So mindset too. I don't associate myself with this power lifter bodybuilder anymore. Now I'm Hyles. I'm Hyles, the guy that's working towards being healthy and being strong and overall functional fitness, which is what we need to sustain life. Is functional fitness, bone density, endurance, flexibility, and some aspects of strength.
Right.
So
yeah, it's definitely not going to hurt you, being able to move heavy things.
No, certainly not. Right.
It keeps, like you said, bone density. That's what I think a lot of times people don't realize is when they get older, like people think, oh, as you get older, you just kind of fall apart and you can't walk upstairs and you can't do these things. But like, no, that's your body falling apart because you never took care of it.
Right.
And you've never done, those physical things, and you've never stayed with it, because I'll tell you that I can see it clearly. Because I was, lifting from my teens all the way through. Now I'm almost pushing 40.
Never would have guessed.
Yeah, 37. So I'll be 38 in, I guess, 8 months. So not quite pushing 40, but close. But like, I can feel the decline, like where it's like, as soon as I hit about 32, 33, I was like, oh, okay, this is what people are talking about. Like you can feel like you don't have the recovery and, the energy that 25-year-old you does.
Right.
Luckily, my brain developed a little bit more, and I didn't have the brain of a 25-year-old either. Because that shit's wild. But you realize, I realized, I was an asshole all the way until I hit 30 when I recognized, I was like, oh, like, and then people like your frontal cortex doesn't develop until you're 27. It's like, wow, like, no wonder.
Really? 27.
And I think it's when like your frontal cortex like completes. Is it 27? 25?
Okay. I've heard 25. So I don't know.
I don't know. My number, that's why she's here.
Yeah. Well, 30, I turned 30 this year, and I've definitely like had some crazy transitions in mindset. I think there is something to turning 30. Maybe it's just seeing that 3 instead of the 2, and you like psychologically associate yourself with being older, so then you naturally adapt to it. I don't know, but
yeah, I didn't feel it until I was like 32 probably. I hit 32 and I was like, oh, like this is it. There's no turning back. It's like I'm going to get older until I die.
Yeah.
Like,
25.
25. Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
25.
Yeah. But either way,
You might be 20.
No,
it's probably per individual too.
No, probably, yeah. I was probably 29 then. But you realize as you get older, like, all right, I want to function. Like when I hit 35, I realized, oh, like I used to think like pushing 40 was old.
Yeah.
Right. And like, all right, that's, game's over. You had a good run at it. You're 40 now. Like stick around until you die.
Sure.
But then like I got there. I'm like, well, you know what? This isn't too bad. And if I stay physical, I'm probably in better shape now than I've ever been my entire life as far as everything besides size and strength goes.
Yeah. I certainly am.
So it's like, oh, like this feels kind of good. Like not getting old.
Yeah.
In a sense.
Yeah. And really, are we, declining in terms of recovery and strength, really? Because you seem to be pushing yourself cognitively more than you ever have, and that consumes energy too. And you're focusing on other aspects like becoming more self-sufficient in your daily life and business and overall functional fitness and health. So you're putting energy into multiple aspects of your life instead of just bench press.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
It's all consuming energy in some way.
Right. No, I mean, that's a good point too. But I've definitely noticed like metabolism, those things do decrease a little bit.
Yeah.
As you get older. I think that's just, natural. Like and you start collecting, I almost said like your body, starts getting worn out, but what it is just a collection of what you've put it through. Right. It's not like, oh, you get older and your body wears out. Like, no, you earned all of that.
Mm-hmm.
You went through things like those injuries or this, that, whatever it is. I've been lucky enough that I haven't had too many big injuries. Like I've never pushed myself but you see some of these guys that, particularly with like the bodybuilding stuff and powerlifting, like ripping muscles off of joints and stuff. It's like, like, thank God I never had anything like that happen because surgery's expensive and stuff.
Oh, certainly.
Like, if not for all like the physicality stuff of it, like I have enough injuries that I have to hold on to. But
right. I injured my back pretty bad in 2017 deadlifting, and I was doing pause deads, and it's never been the same. Like it's never been the same. And I've done all kinds of reverse hypers and stretching, and I'm like trying to do all these crazy back bends now and stuff to try to just rehabilitate my body. But you always feel that lingering injury from even years ago, and I don't know if it's ever going to completely subside. You know?
Yeah. I think I don't know if I heard this from somebody or if it was just like, this is what I'm going to do. Is the more I use my body like gracefully, the better and better it continues to feel. Like even with injuries, everything else, you think about, all right, I don't have to go in there and rip out weights that are, super heavy. And like, I'm okay going in there and doing just sets of 10 all the time. Like if I want to keep a little bit of strength, cause I like, a little bit more strength than you would like normally doing, like kettlebell swings or like some of the CrossFit stuff. Like I like the strength that I have. I like being able to move a washer by myself. That's pretty fun. It's pretty cool. I could just pick it up, walk it up the stairs. Like that's fun. So like applicable strength, but to your point, like maxing out, like you got to be careful. It's because that one time, you rip something, you tear something. I've popped a couple of ribs out just just from the pressure of like deadlifting and like the belt and whatnot. And I had a weak core, I guess.
Sure.
And it's like that still nags at me. And it's like, ugh,
Yeah.
this sucks.
And
So,
what are you getting done and accomplishing when you're hurt?
yeah, nothing at
Nothing.
all. Yeah, just being frustrated. And then your physical and mental health goes downhill. You know, I think that's a thing that people don't connect a lot of times too, is physical and mental health. And there's more of it happening. You know, I think I've used the word svelte recently for like multiple people, because like, you know, these people that haven't exercised or haven't done anything their whole life, and then I'll see them a couple years later when I haven't seen them for a while, and they're like, oh, like, you've been exercising, I can see it, you know, you actually look like alive. You know, and it's there, people are finding it and realizing that not only does it help you physically but mentally, you know.
Absolutely.
It's night and day.
Yeah. Movement is the most unnoticed and unappreciated form of maintaining mental health, because how we're becoming so sedentary or sedentary. I think that's how you say it. Yeah. In our lives. And the more technology becomes prevalent and the more convenience that we have, the more we're sitting on our asses.
Yeah. Convenience is a heart attack waiting to happen.
I know. Yeah. So staying moving is really everything. So, I mean, you look at 40 years ago, how much more did people move 40 years ago than they do now?
Yeah.
And now we have these little, you know, gadgets in our pockets everywhere that's constantly drawing our attention to stand still or not move.
Yeah,
you know,
there's a lot of screens out there we're staring at all day long.
All day long.
I get it, because that's what I do all day long. It's like, man, after hours of doing that, it's like, I'm gonna lose my mind.
Yeah.
And I realized, I think that was a big push, kind of tying into getting older and figuring out, all right, what's the next like section of my health and my physical fitness of my life look like? Because it's not going to be powerlifting. You know, I'm too old for that. Like, people say you're never too old for it. Yeah, for me, I am, for the risk and reward. I'm too old for that shit.
Yeah.
So it's like, what am I going to do? It's like, all right, well, I guess number one on the list is still look good naked, because that's cool. I like doing that. That makes me feel good. But otherwise, like, they say your heart's good for you. So, all right, I should probably start mixing some like more cardio and stuff in, like, just to be and be mobile and be able to function as a human being. Like, you know, people don't move. So it's like, all right, like, I dislike it, but I still do it. But I'm getting to like it more, like rucking and just moving. Like, all right, I can still throw some weight on. I can still feel like I'm doing something, but what's more natural than having to carry something heavy for a long time? Like, that's kind of what we're designed to do.
Sure.
So like, all right, that's probably functional. Like, so I, you know, start moving towards those directions, but people oftentimes get stuck into one thing where it's like, try something different, find those things you like. Because if you don't like just going to the gym and lifting weights, all right, fine. Like, find something else to do. Like, maybe you don't like CrossFit, maybe you don't like running, maybe whatever it is, but find something that gets you out and just moving is, like you said, I heard it said, and I talk to my neighbor about it, who's, I think, like 76 now, something like that. The guy can kick my ass on a golf course. Like, the first time I went golfing with him, we walked. And I'm like, oh, it was the first time I ever walked a golf course. And this guy, he's like,
that's a workout.
Yeah, and this guy's 75 and he's walking. And I'm like, God damn it, Steve, kicking my ass. And like, you realize it's like, the second you stop moving is the second you start dying.
Well, look at people when they retire.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people, once they retire, their health starts declining because they're no longer getting up at whatever 6:30 a.m. to go to their job and perform daily tasks, and they just slowly slumping over.
Yeah,
you know,
disappear out of the world.
Mm-hmm.
So recently, in between last time we saw you, what has been like the key? Because I know you've been trying a handful of different things.
Yeah.
So,
I get my hands into too many things at once.
Yeah, I've noticed that. I'm like, wait a minute. I was like, first he was doing this liver thing, and now he's like vegetarian or vegan. I was like, now he's going by. So what do you like? It looks like you've been exploring with a lot of things. If you don't mind breaking some of that down, and what did you learn from it, and you know, what's your experience from those things that you've been doing?
Okay, so you want to primarily kind of talk about the nutritional side of things right now?
Yeah, just whatever. Like, what have you done recently that you talked about you feel better than you ever have? So obviously you're doing dietary changes and different things that you've tried. but you've been traveling around. Looks like working quite a bit all over the place.
Yeah.
So, but like, what do you think like some of those key factors since the last time you were here that have made you feel better, the best you ever have?
Well, I'm like hyper focused on nutrition. That's where I'm very passionate about. So a lot of my daily thoughts and daily thinking are directed towards nutrition right now. So June is I can't help okay, let me back up. I can't help but see how much the supplement industry and all the labels on all of these quote unquote health foods in the stores have this huge emphasis on protein. And this huge emphasis on protein and with the bodybuilding that became very popular back in the 70s, it's like protein this, protein that, this is how we grow, this is how we build more muscle is by consuming more protein. But I don't feel that we need as much as we believe we do. I think the majority of Americans get twice as much protein as they need. So I began experimenting with less protein, and as we know, I mean, I don't want to talk like doomsday by any means, but there's lots and lots of artificial hormones in a lot of our protein sources, like bodybuilders. It's like eat chicken, eat chicken. It's like, well, I mean, most chicken's really not that good for you, and it's affecting our hormones and it's affecting our testosterone.
Yeah, I think
So-
there could be a blanket statement said that most things you buy from a store are not good for you.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Health as well.
But then you if people get over paranoid about it, it becomes stressful, and then that's hindering hormone levels in itself. So my idea behind this and this protein obsession that the fitness industry has was to eliminate animal proteins for a period of time. And my mindset behind that was that these artificial hormones are affecting my potential hormones while I'm trying to reestablish homeostasis within my own body. So if I can eliminate artificial hormones through animal proteins in my diet, it would give my body a chance to start creating its own, because to break down protein, there's 20 amino acids.
So real quick before you do that,
Yeah.
For those that haven't listened to the first time you're on, you give
Sure.
a brief kind of why you're kind of taking this path and why you've been down this road about trying to find some homeostasis in your hormones.
Sure, absolutely. At 18 years old, I was I'll just do a brief overview of everything. Okay. Became fascinated with bodybuilding as a 8-year-old, probably. I started lifting weights at 11, Arnold Schwarzenegger movies. He on Commando. Have you ever seen the movie Commando?
I
He's
love
like
it when-
holding the log.
Yeah.
I was like, I want that.
I love it when he punches the camel out. And, was it Barbarian? Or not Barbarian. What's that? Conan. Yeah, Conan the Barbarian. Yeah, he fucking knocks the camel out. Like, I want to be that guy.
Sure. Yeah. I felt the same way. And this super masculine role models like Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sylvester Stallone led me to feel like I needed to just have massive amounts of muscle, which I think was great. And I became obsessed with building muscle at a very, very young age. And when I turned 18, I was in a mindset that I would do anything. I would do anything to continue to become bigger and stronger. And I got introduced to anabolic steroids at that age through some guys at the gym. So there I was, I didn't, as an 18-year-old, I don't look into the future.
Right.
I just do whatever.
None of us did.
No.
It's fine.
And I began taking steroids at 18 years old, which is a very young age for those of you that may not know to start doing this. My hormones are still maturing at that age.
Right.
And to interrupt them at that age is can become very detrimental.
Yeah.
Certainly. And I was hooked. I felt euphoric. I felt superhuman. I felt invincible. There's nothing that could stop me. And every day I walked into the gym, I was stronger. And I carried that with me. Yeah, the use of anabolic steroids from 18 years old up until 26 and I had some traumatic life events. I don't want to like overplay it, but it was mostly relational. And I had this big transition in my life to where I was like, you know what, I don't need these things anymore. I don't want these things anymore. I need to heal my mind, because there was a great effect on my psyche from all of these androgens. I mean, just became overly aggressive and overly self-consumed, just like any society that has insane amounts of testosterone. I feel like there's there's no balance. It's just like, well, like, we want to fight these guys and take their women or whatever, just for example. But after I realized this and came to this conclusion, and I started like um, thinking more in introspection and like looking at myself and my behaviors, I decided that I didn't need to continue to taking all of these, harsh androgens and steroids. So I went on testosterone replacement therapy, self-medicated. I didn't go through a doctor or anything, but I did that up until January of this year, 2023. And I tried coming off once in 2018 completely, and my testosterone levels were 47, my total testosterone levels. So I got back on, and then I was like, I'm doing this. I don't want to, because I see how the world is becoming more and more dependent on the system or on the medical system or on medication. And I don't want to be dependent on anything. I want to be self sufficient. And this was my mindset at the time. So I came off the testosterone, and it was like incredible crash. Like everything, there was points in time where I just like, I don't want anyone to pity me by saying this, but like, it was just hard to get out of bed. You have no energy. You just feel terrible. But willpower, drove me through this. So that's kind of how it's all led up to this. And now this whole year of 2023, it's like, how can I optimize natural hormone levels, testosterone? And I've learned that testosterone is a byproduct of energy, just like energy is a byproduct of testosterone. Someone with a lot of testosterone has a lot of energy, just like someone or a man with a lot of, men in particular, a man with a lot of testosterone has a lot of energy, just like a lot of energy usually has a lot of testosterone involved with it. So my mindset transitioned into, how do I just create more energy? So I started, doing like cold plunging methods, and focusing on optimizing nutrition and trying not to overtrain to a point where I'm just like beating myself down all the time. So that's kind of led me to where I'm at now, and then I'm going back into we redirected, and now we're at the protein. We're back to the protein. So here we are. I don't want to like make this too confusing, but that's kind of the recap of why I'm here. So this led me to believe that the artificial hormones that's in a lot of the proteins, the animal proteins that we're consuming, is detrimental to our testosterone. So I cut those out for a period of time, and I ate totally vegan. I ate totally vegan for 6 months. And I learned a lot of things through that time. And I feel like that was a good period to where I could just detoxify my body from a lot of these artificial hormones along with the steroids that I took. But ultimately it did not benefit testosterone. A vegan diet is not optimal for testosterone, I learned, because now I'm reincorporating like whole eggs and fish, and it's like, I was like, okay, I'm feeling better. Like I feel more lively, I feel more masculine, and more. I'm more willing to take initiative. So
What would you say? Because I've never done vegan. I don't care what anybody else does. But I just love meat. I could probably live off of beef jerky, and I don't know, like I could probably just that. Just give me some beef jerky and water, and I'll be good for at least a couple weeks.
yeah.
But do you have anything that you look back on when you went vegan, and said like, this was really nice about it, or like this really felt great, or this worked well, or anything like that? versus because you hear all like the downfalls.
Sure. Yeah.
But
You have an increase in blood flow because you're not eating as much saturated fats, and saturated fats come from animal sources. So you have an increased endurance. I've noticed that dramatically. I was able to run or perform endurance related exercises way more efficiently. But my recovery was inhibited because I don't feel that I was getting enough protein
right.
to recover.
It kind of all I could envision when you were talking about that was, you think historically at some point when we were, non-civilized, called not non-civilized necessarily, but without the tools that we have today, we'd be eating vegan until we were able to run down something and
Yes.
eat it.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's like the process of, it's funny that you mentioned that. Obviously there's some, I think there's some statistical truth to that as well, but it's just funny that you mentioned, hey, my endurance is great. So you could go chase after that protein for a long time. But then once you get it, you need the protein to recover. Right?
Sure.
Is that kind of how you felt?
Absolutely. And it's like the new kind of diet trend now. Like we put labels on things today.
Of course we have to, right?
So
that's
it's called macrobiotic nutrition.
Ooh, I haven't heard that one.
So that's kind of what I'm doing now, and it's cool because it's like implementing like more of an ancestral, like tribal vibe to it, to where you go a few days where you're not eating much protein or protein sparing. And then you go to a point to where, okay, I've went through these hard workouts. My body's depleted. My muscles are sore. Now I'm going to indulge in an extreme amount of protein, and I'm going to recover at an accelerated rate because my body's going to absorb this protein more. Just like thinking about guys who've taken testosterone. You don't take testosterone for a while, your androgen receptors become super sensitive. So when you do take exogenous hormones, it like soaks it up and you get huge, but you take it for a long period of time and you start to plateau. You can plateau on protein.
Right.
So
that's kind of like the vitamin C. There's a lot of providers that say that you shouldn't take it like daily. You should wait until you have symptoms of a cold or whatever and then pound it.
Yeah.
Instead of taking it, just
sense.
routinely to have it. Because that kind of makes sense too. Like if you take it every day, you have this like decent level of vitamin C, but there's a lot of providers who say wait until you start getting sick and then pound it really hard. So that's the same with
sure
the protein.
Yeah, I mean that's medicines across the board a lot of times, right? Like antibiotics. You take an antibiotic all the time. Then when you finally do come across something, it's not going to be nearly as efficient, right? Isn't
right.
it, antibiotic resistant bacteria and stuff like that?
Certainly.
So it's like, oh, well, it makes sense. I mean, at least the concept of it, right? So have you been implementing that recently? That's what you're doing. How long have you been doing that?
This is a more recent thing, about a month now, since I started incorporating animal proteins back into my diet. I started with whole eggs because I slowly put things in and pull things out. I'm very mindful of what I'm eating, at least for right now. And so yeah, about a month or so. And I know like the first week after I started incorporating eating like locally sourced whole eggs, which I emphasis on locally sourced, I had dramatic like inward feelings and some physiological signs that my testosterone levels had elevated. So like increased libido and confidence. Confidence is huge with testosterone too, I've realized. My confidence is way higher than it was when last time we talked. So and that just shows like the utmost importance that of men maintaining healthy testosterone levels is. Because we're like literally in a hormonal war right now with substances and chemicals and well, I mean, I also think that like the amount of stimulation we're put through, like with technology and everything, is affecting things too.
Yeah,
but
It's funny you say that because, I've experienced what you've experienced in my past, but just recently, I just the other day I was like, babe, guess what? uh, but I realized like for a long time, like, so I used to work out in the field, cut it like doing manual labor all day long. And I would be out and I needed underwear that like I was working out all day long. So I would wear compression shorts.
Sure.
Plus I worked with like there was a bunch of ticks and shit.
Hmm.
So like that also gave another like layer of them like not burrowing into my asshole. So that's important because I don't want that Lone Star disease because I love red meat too much. So but or Lyme's disease, that would suck too. But regardless, so I wore compression shorts for a really long time.
Yeah.
And then when you guys were here last, I think it was Cruz who said something about he's trying to like not wear any type of polyester or anything like that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay. And I thought about it and I was like, well, more and more thought about it. I'm like, well, it kind of makes sense. Like you're just putting like petroleum products all over you.
Sure.
You're just like I wouldn't go out there and rub like motor oil all over myself.
Yeah.
Right. Like you go, oh, that could be kind of toxic. It's the same. It comes from the same shit. It's made, from oil essentially. So it's like, all right, well then like, I don't necessarily need all that compression anymore either. Cause I stopped working out in the field. So I stopped wearing compression shorts all the time and, started going towards like cotton underwear.
Yeah.
So I was like, I was like, babe, my balls are so huge.
Dude, I know.
Yeah. She was like, what? I was like, I just noticed it. I'm like, you know what? Like, maybe there's something to this thing. Like, I'm not squeezing the fuck out of them all day long, and I'm not wrapping them in crude oil.
Yeah.
Like, maybe there's something to this whole thing.
Sure. I think testicular size is very much correlated with testosterone levels. I mean, our testosterone starts out highest in the morning and then it goes down throughout the day. That's typically how it works. And, me being obsessed with testosterone and amplifying my testosterone levels, I wake up in the morning and I check, see how big my balls are. And then in the evening, I'm like, oh, dang, they've like decreased 25% throughout the day, So, it's definitely real.
Yeah. Well, and it's even more, it's backed up by, that whole thing where people talk about, the wives' tale would be, well, if you take steroids, it like shrinks your dick. It's like, well, no, that doesn't do that, but it does shrink your balls.
Yeah.
Because why would they need to be there if you're providing this extreme amount of exogenous testosterone? Well, you just took over their job.
Sure.
So they stopped working, right?
Yeah.
And they atrophied. So it's like, well, fuck it, we're not doing anything, so we'll just kind of hang out and shrivel up and die. And that's really kind of what happens, right?
Yeah.
So it just surprised me that because I haven't thought about that kind of stuff for years, but then like the more and more we continue to kind of look at, like you mentioned, just everything around us is we're being, there's an onslaught of chemicals and poisons that are constantly coming at us. And it used to be, you hear people say stuff like that and you're like, okay, like relax, like easy Karen, or whatever. But then you realize like all of the, it's just simple, plain and simple. You go into a grocery store, pick up anything off the shelf, look at the ingredients. How many ingredients are in there? And how many can you read? It's simple.
How many do you know what it is?
Yeah. Even less. Even less than you can read. Right. So like when you why it all the way down and break it down to like, to me, it's why not? Like she figured out how to make soap. So we make our own soap. Like, why not? It works just as great. And we don't have to worry about putting chemicals all over our body.
Yeah.
When you know what I mean? Like, why not do these things? Why not go and get chicken or eggs from a local place that like their chicken's free roam and stuff.
And
like
they're
that.
often cheaper too.
Yeah. Yeah. And like when you realize I saw, I think it's like, was it in the US, they have like, I think 30 days to ship eggs once they're laid. The farm has 30 days to ship them. So your average egg you get in the grocery store is at least like 5 to 6 week old.
Yeah.
So it's like, so why not get fresher? Even if you're not thinking about the antibiotics they pump into them and the conditions that they're living in, this, that, whatever. They're 6 weeks.
Why not?
Like you don't. Why not? You know what I mean? Especially like some of those things are a little bit more expensive. They can be, or a little bit harder to find, you know, but why not?
Yeah.
Like we started doing it with our beef that we buy. Instead of buying it from a store and they pump it full of ink, like dyes and stuff. Sometimes like some of that stuff is like pumped full of dyes. What was it? We were talking the other day.
I've heard about this recently. Yeah.
Yeah. Was it like what was the number? It was like 60 or 70% of like beef in the United States is imported from other countries, and then they slaughter it here, or it's already slaughtered, but they package it, and if like they process it in any form, they can slap a product of the USA on. So it's like,
is this the pink slime too?
And they like well, if you look at like how they make imitation crab or like salmon, like these salmon farms, like they're not pink. Those fish they pull out of those salmon farms, they're a dull, crappy, like, because they're unhealthy. So they like basically inject them with dyes and stuff just to make them look like fish.
Yeah.
So like we started getting local beef from a local butcher that was raised locally on a farm. So it's like, and the price isn't that much different. Why not?
Why not? I agree.
You know, that's to me, like that's what we keep coming back to. It's like, all right, call us crazy as much as you want, but why not? Like we feel great. Feel like the nutrition and everything that we have in our food is much better.
Yeah.
Because now, I can correlate it to when I used to, really focused on when I used to be really focused on my health, right? AKA getting big and looking jacked. It was like I tried to make every decision I made about protein and getting bigger. What do I need to get bigger? So anytime like where I was like, oh, I want a snack instead of a candy bar, I grab a protein bar. But it wasn't necessarily because like I wanted to be healthy. It was because I want that protein, But then after doing that and getting away from eating fast food and some of those things, you go back, if you don't eat fast food for 6 months and go back and get a whatever at some fast food like burger and fries and you eat it, it's like, I feel like a pile of garbage for 3 hours now.
Yeah.
And you realize it's not food. Like,
it's not food. It's Frankenfood.
Yeah. It's all these chemicals are just like thrown together. So if you continue to take that principle of realizing that when you make these changes and you eat them, like make these changes from stuff, like I'll drink a soda maybe once a year. If we go to a movie, I'll get a Coke with a popcorn, and we did that with our daughter just recently, but that's like the one time, because now it's like, oh, it's so heavy. I can't eat like candy and stuff. It's like, it's just too much.
Right.
And you realize your body at some point recognizes that it's like, this isn't good for us. Like,
sure.
At least it feels like that with me.
Yeah.
But
adding on to what you're saying, about, like the salmon and then the dyes and the beef and where it's coming from, for someone starting off, trying to take a more natural, holistic approach to what they're eating, protein is what our body is constantly using. Protein to create new cells. So our body's constantly regenerating, constantly creating new cells. And it uses amino acids, which are broken down forms of protein, to create new cells. So we become new every few years physically.
I love that. Is it like every 6 years or something like that? They say, like, is it the average of
it depends. It depends. In our gut, it's 7 days.
Right.
Skeletal muscle it's up to like 10 years, I believe.
Yeah.
But don't quote me on that. I'm not
But
sure.
I think it's like the average or whatever. Like you get basically replaced every 6 years on average.
Yeah.
I thought about that because you think about 6 years old, you're, toddler, you're no longer a toddler. You're talking, you're walking, you're kind of functioning as a human being. 12 years old, you're going through puberty. 18, you're, I don't know, supposedly an adult.
Right.
But then 24, we already talked about the frontal cortex, developing. So like, look at all every 6 years, like you have these like 24,
right.
30, 7 years. So, but still in that ballpark of,
okay.
You see all these like landmarks, you can go, oh, well, that makes sense, right? Like,
sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Sorry, not to.
No, that's fine. No, I'm glad that the way I described it sparked your interest. So yeah, so our cells are constantly regenerating, and they're regenerating through proteins or amino acids. So the thing that we should be focused on the most is the quality of the protein that we're eating, because that's what's regenerating our bodies.
Yeah.
We can't escape everything. We literally can't, unless we are literally growing all of our own food and with healthy soil. And it's
Yeah.
literally it's not possible. Well, I don't want to say not possible.
Yeah, it's doable, but
It's
yeah.
not probable right now.
Yeah,
For most people.
you're gonna seem like you're living in a cult for sure if you're doing that.
Certainly, yeah. So focusing on getting quality proteins locally, if you're eating beef, getting locally sourced beef and checking to see if they're using antibiotics or steroid hormones within it. Fish like wild caught, locally sourced eggs. This is, I would say, the most important factor to focus on when you're trying to take a more holistic approach to your nutrition is the quality of protein, where it's coming from, and making sure it's just as natural as possible.
Yeah, and it's harder. It's really hard for folks that have never done that. Like it's even remotely difficult for us to do that. And we have that knowledge from what is food, from looking at powerlifting, and because you learn about the macros for different reasons then, right?
Right.
Because I want to get shredded so you can see my abs, but I can also deadlift 600 pounds, but then understanding what kind of food is. Most people never even really understand what food is anymore. Like, I think the majority of people in the United States don't even understand the difference between what they're eating every day and actual food. Like, they're eating dog food.
Yeah. Well, look what's happening now. It's like food delivery companies. Like, we don't even have any idea where things are being sourced. It's not. We don't even look at it as in nourishment. It's just like, can't even explain the way we look at it. But it's like, we order it. Who knows what kind of processes it goes through, and then it's at the grocery store, and then it's at the restaurant, and then we deliver it. Then the Uber Eats guy drives it to us, and it's like there's all these factors of delivery, and then here it is for us. And it's like, what is it to us? What is the food to us? We need to understand that our body is relatively becoming one with whatever we're eating cellularly. Yeah. That's legitimate.
Yeah. Like, so your body has to, when it's reproducing those cells, it's got to get all of its nutrients and energy from somewhere.
Yes.
And it's what you put in your body.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, and like when people start realizing what some of these things are, it's like, it's scary.
Yeah.
Well, and not even that. Then, like you said, the food is being transported. What about the plastic? Like, it's being
microplastic.
Yeah, it's being transported in plastic. It's already warm. So it's just as bad as if you put the plastic in the microwave with it.
Getting them phthalates.
Right? And then that's just going to mess up your endocrine system. It is going to, for sure.
It shrinks your gooch.
But it can also, cause
have you heard that? The phthalates? Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. No, it's just, not only is it the food, but then how is it being, not even just cooked, but what is it being contained in?
Yeah. And then the process to get it there. Like, all right, if you want to consider and think about being earth conscious, right? And trying to do your part, whatever it is, different angles, like all of the processing, the trucking, the entire industry behind all those things. Like, granted, the modern world is obviously blessed by having the technology and the interconnectivity that we have, and the capability of creating all these fantastic things, but it also creates some not so fantastic things.
Right.
And if the more we feed into that, well, it's not going to go away. So instead of, I know like the medical industry is a real messed up one too, but just because people talk about and consider, all right, what can we do from a holistic view of how to take care of my body and my health? Do I need to take all those pills? What are all those pills doing to me? Because the pharmaceutical industry has not had a great track record.
Right.
But at the same time, there's some life-saving things that our medical industry provides us with as well, which are really awesome. So like you're not throwing the baby out with the bathwater, but what can we cut out? Would be a good idea to ingest in our bodies instead of different things, and why not? Why not go for a run instead of the antidepressant? Maybe cut that back a little bit and try to physical exercise. Because I know I feel a whole hell of a lot happier when I have physical exercise. That's what force myself to do it every morning. I always thought I'd never work out in the morning. I hated it with a passion because I never had strength in the morning.
We're going back to the detriment of convenience now.
Right. So it's like, but I have to do it
Yeah.
or else I'm going to lose my mind. And now it's 5 days a week. I'm doing something I'm doing something intentional. That's exercise first thing in the morning. And every single day I do it, it's like, this is awesome. Like the guy at the gym, he'll be like, oh, you're crazy, this, that, whatever. I'm like, no, I'm a bitch. But I know if I don't overcome that and just make myself do it, then I'm going to be a miserable bitch at my house and I'm going to be lazy and fat and I'll be breaking bones and, I won't be able to play basketball with my kid because I won't be physically able.
Right.
So like, all right, there's like Cass says all the time, there's different levels of hard, choose it, which hard are you going to choose?
And sometimes does it feel like it gets harder to initiate doing these physical activities? I know I've noticed that in myself, and I don't know if it's just like the prevalence of like technology or just other distractions that make it hard to like just get started into doing like a bout of physical exercise.
Oh yeah.
I can't quite put my finger on why. The older I get, the harder it becomes. It's like, I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't even really necessarily know where I'm going with that, but
no, I feel you though, because that's what, like, before when I was lifting, I was in there all the time. Yeah. Then as I got older, I'm like, well, all right, I got big, I got jacked, I got strong, and I'm not really ever gonna like go beyond what I had gone beyond, like where I had gone up to. So what am I doing now?
Yeah.
And I'm getting older. I don't want to hurt myself, so I don't want to push it anymore. And so it's like, what am I doing?
Right.
And I just had this just recently with the whole rucking thing. Dustin, who's been on my brother-in-law, he is an ambassador for Green Beret Fitness. So it's like a rucking company, but they don't do like the Go Rucks are like team events. They do just an individual event. They go out in the mountains and do some crazy stuff, like 20 milers through mountains. They just say, here's your destination. You gotta go here and back or whatever it is, and see you later. You have to carry, it's a ruck with weight. You have to carry so much weight depending on the event and whatnot. And they say, off you go. Like,
yeah.
So it's an individual thing. It's like, that sounds miserable. Like I used to hate cardio. Like my cardio is I lift weights faster.
Yeah.
But he texted me. He's like, I got the perfect event for you. He's like, it's 8 miles with 80 pounds. He's like, it's right here in Akron. I was like, that sounds easy enough. So I was like, all right. Like I now have to find stuff to go, okay, I'm going to commit to do this. And then I have to fill in the rest because I don't want to completely get destroyed or embarrass myself when I get to that event.
Right.
So now it's like I do a ruck every week. I go, one of my mornings, I'll get up and do it. And it's like, every time it's like, oh, I don't want to do this. Like, this sucks. But then about, 15 minutes into it, I'm like, this is awesome. And then about halfway through, the sun starts coming up. I'm like, all right, I'm feeling pretty fucking good now.
Yeah.
Like, this is like, and then the rest of the day, I come home, take a cold shower, and it's like, today is a good day. But to your point, getting there to like force yourself to do that blows.
Mm-hmm.
That
certainly.
sucks.
Are you doing the cold showers regularly?
Yeah. I take a cold shower because I go to the gym in the morning. So I come home, I go to the gym, hit the sauna, which is awesome. I love that.
Yeah.
And then I come home and take a cold shower every morning.
I've gotten big into this hot and cold contrast recently. And the most efficient way we can eliminate toxins from our bodies is through sweating. I don't think there's a more efficient way than through sweating.
Oh yeah, either your kidneys or your liver.
Yeah.
But otherwise, those are kind of the three things,
true.
right?
Yeah. Urination,
yeah,
sweating, bowel movements, but yeah, that's like I feel
factor.
so much better. I go to the gym, I do some weightlifting or whatever it is I'm doing that day. I've been getting into like doing high intensity intervals, like on a wind bike or, I built this giant sledgehammer that I like beating tires with and like functional fitness stuff. And then I got my body temperature already up. I'll get into the sauna for 20 minutes, start sweating profusely. and then I'll go straight home and get in a cold shower, and I feel
Oh,
like a whole new person.
yeah, it's
So
so
adding on to
awesome.
what you were saying, and it's so simple. You
Yeah.
literally just sit there in the sauna. Like if you have a membership, like local people at the warehouse gym, you
Yeah.
just sit in the sauna for 20 minutes. You can do anything, listen to music, read a book, whatever, and then go home. And you don't even need to be in the cold shower for that long. 2 to 4 minutes, I feel
Yeah.
like, is plenty.
Yeah.
Especially with you having well water here. It's really cold.
Yeah, it is. Especially come winter, it's really chilly. But
Yeah.
it feels so good after. It's like, man, I would love to have a sauna and a cold plunge at like a legit cold plunge at the house, because it is, I hear people talk about it all the time, like in all this kind of woo woo kind of going on around it. Like that's all, like my social feeds are just like cold plunge, like all these different things. It's like, like I get it, like you're trying to sell me this stuff, and people are talking about, but it's one of those things where I always feel better
Yeah.
after a sauna and a cold shower, or during the fall before I close the pool up, because I don't heat. We have a pool. I don't heat it, so it gets cold. So
Gotcha.
I'll get home from the gym and jump in the pool, and it's like sometimes like 50 degrees, not 30, but to what 50 degrees is not super warm water either. But even doing that, it's like, oh man, this feels good. Hey, if it feels good, why not?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of benefits to that. I mean, you got to do all the other stuff first. Really, is the cold plunge and a cold shower and a saunas can make you feel a little bit better, but it's just icing on top of a cake if you're physically doing things.
In my mind, nutrition and what we're consuming, what we're putting into our bodies is the most important thing, because like the actual food and the actual thing that we are consuming is the biggest factor in how we feel.
Mm.
I mean, because that's literally what we're eating, and that's what's making up our entire bodies is the nutrients that we're eating.
Yeah, it's a simple thing that people don't think about very often.
Yeah.
When you're housing down, McDonald's and stuff.
Yeah.
It's like, what is this stuff made of?
Yeah.
Like that can sit on I heard someone talking about the other day. There's a guy that has a bunch of McDonald's hamburgers from different years. So he pulls them out every year to show, like, and he's got like a burger for like over 20 years old. Like the pickle went bad, but that was basically it.
What?
And it's like, we're eating that. Like that can't be good.
Sure.
I don't know.
Wow.
I think it's it speaks to how kind of woefully like blind people are to the reality around.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if you tell somebody like that's just a bunch of chemicals, that's probably not like actually food. They never make that connection a lot of times.
Yeah.
It's like, and even going to, obviously not everyone can be self-sufficient in a society like this that we have, because we have to have specialists, right? I mean, there's no way you can have the level of technology and all these different things without, not everyone can just live on a, back in the woods somewhere and grow their own food and butcher their own animals. And that's just, everyone lives that way. At least not with the numbers we have. Right. But like what can you do to just help out, to help your mental health, your physical health, your family health, your community health. Like there's little things that like people can do, and I think are doing more and more to like just make real reality just a little bit better.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot more to life than the screens and the whatever it is on social media or politics or the fast food. Like there's a real world out there that's has real consequences. And I think a lot of people are disconnected from that, and it's kind of scary.
Yeah, certainly.
Seeing what we're going through.
Certainly. I think adding on to what you're saying, we all need to start adapting a mindset, or we all should start adapting a mindset to figure out how we can contribute to our community and society. And I don't think anyone has any designated purpose or reason or thing that they need to do, but it just, what are you passionate about? What wakes you up in the morning and gets you excited, and how can you transition whatever that is that makes you happy into helping others? Like with me and myself, like I aspire to help men boost testosterone levels naturally. And it's because of the life experience that I have had and my passion for fitness and nutrition. And that will be my contribution to the community here in, Worcester, Ashland, Mansfield area, and it's something that I also love to do. So for people to start transitioning out of this mindset, this trapped mindset of the screens and the poor quality food like you were talking about, and just almost like this subconscious asleep lifestyle to where you're just going through the motions. You really got to do some soul searching and figure out what makes you happy and how you can bring that to life outside of the digital world and help others.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot out there, because, you think about it, it wouldn't take much to completely disrupt everything that's going on. Let's, let's put aside for the moment. We'll pretend like, we're not a country that's 30 plus trillion in debt. And was it like 80% of that's comes in the last 3 years, and that we're not heavily involved in 2 really bloody wars right now after we have just gotten out of everything else. We'll forget about that too. And the amount of just unawareness for health. We saw that blatantly during COVID. If you haven't been able to like step back and look and see what happened during those last, the last 3 years with that, and see how absolutely just completely discombobulated it was. You realize like nobody really had a clue to anything that was going on. And it was just people freaking out. And there were so many things going on, but the really important pieces for us as individuals were completely missed by the masses. Like, hey, just being healthy. Hey, having a halfway decent diet, or not even diet, but like eating decent food and being healthy, and going outside and getting vitamin D. You're probably going to be just fine.
Yeah.
Without any concerns.
Yeah.
So there's just these little things that we just kind of close a blind eye to, that even if we figured all about all that stuff, and we get a like I was telling you, like a good solar flare, or coronal mass ejection, or if something happens where it brings electricity down for an extended period of time. I've seen what happens when people, about 2 days is all it takes for people to start getting a little antsy without power. I went out to the East Coast when Hurricane Sandy came through, and I think that was 2000. I don't know when that was, but it was a while. It was a little while. But they were without power on the East Coast, New York, Jersey, right through there. After about 2 or 3 days, I saw people almost like getting into fistfights in gas stations over fuel. After a week, it was ugly. And that was just a very small section. You could drive about an hour or 2 and get to a gas station that had gas. There were people lined up, for they had to do gas rationing. Like if you had a plate that was, ended in a number or before K or whatever it is, you get gas on Monday, Wednesday, Fridays, stuff like that. But you just saw how quickly and easily society just falls apart.
Right.
And it's like, if something like that were to happen, like, what would you do?
Yeah.
And I don't think anybody's ever like really thought about that.
Yeah.
And like, what's your plan for the next, 40 years? People talk about retirement a lot.
Yeah.
But they never think about, well, where am I going to be health-wise?
Sure.
When I get there, to spend all this money that I'm putting away that's probably going to be worthless when I gets there.
Yeah.
So
I don't care about retirement.
Yeah, like money's awesome. Like money's great. Like, don't get me wrong. Like it's fun. Like I like having it. It's nice to be able to afford, to eat good food and, afford a house and afford these things. So I'm not talking bad about it, but at some point you have to like, all right, what's life about? Is it just about acquiring more money? Or is it about making sure that, when I'm 70, I can play with my grandkids or whatever it is? And, I've taken care of my family and I've spent time with people. There's not a whole lot of times people are like, hey, I wish I would have worked more when they're dying.
Right.
Sometimes you hear that, but it just seems like we've been lulled to sleep, as you said. I think it's a really good way to put it. Like people are just sleepwalking their way through life recently. It's like it's like on show. You can like see it so clearly. It's like how do you wake those people up? You know,
I think the only way people that are that deep into it and are still that deep into it and aren't realizing it yet is going to be through some sort of event, like you were saying, the power outage and everybody's freaking out after 2 days. Like that would be the only way I think some people would be able to really like come to their senses, but they would be totally unprepared at that point.
yeah, they get eaten.
Yeah.
By something, by a bear at some point, or people. You never know. But like we haven't really had like I guess we look at back like through history, like there's some like really close events, like meteors coming in. You look at was it not even a couple hundred years ago? It was like 150 years ago. The Tunguska event in Russia, or I think it was a meteor asteroid. Something came in. It exploded like a mile above the Earth, and it completely decimated. I think it was like a couple mile radius area, just flattened it.
Yeah.
Like a nuke.
Wow.
It's like, if that happened over a city, like people would lose their minds. And that's going to change everything forever.
Yeah.
It's like that could happen. Easily.
Certainly could.
You know, it just happened not too long ago. And because 100 years ago, not that long.
No.
You know, it's long for us, but
right.
We've been here for a while. So I don't know if I guess maybe that's more to the point of you know, if I get blasted out by an asteroid, the last thing I want to be thinking about is, did I make enough money?
Yeah.
You know,
I don't think we're ever really gonna be able to fix any of our issues within society working for money or chasing money. I know I mean, like people that and I'm not like putting the blame or saying that anybody's life is less than anyone else for having a more narrow mindset about anything.
oh no.
But if you're constantly working for money, you're never going to develop anything that you're passionate about. You're just going to be chasing the dollar and what it can do for you. And how is that ever going to evolve into bringing people back together and connecting as a community again? I don't think it ever will, because we're constantly going to be stuck in a materialistic mindset at that point.
Yeah.
And as the dollar slowly, well, not so slowly, more rapidly
Yes,
devalues,
rapidly.
you know, why are we still so focused on it? You know, I'm a very minimalistic person. I just prefer to be that way because it's less stressful. But
yeah.
Personally,
more money, more problems.
Yeah, it's really real, I think. But so yeah, it's if you're constantly working towards making more money so you can do more things, I think you're just kind of spinning your wheels. You know, instead of focusing on making more money, start focusing on doing things that you like to do and taking care of your health. Because ultimately, as we were talking about, you know, health is the greatest form of wealth.
Yeah. It's really the only thing you have that you can relatively control, and it can drastically improve and change your life by having all things. You know, typically, if the healthier you are, the better you feel, the more energy you have, the better your brain typically works.
Yeah.
And guess what? You can use all those things to go get more money.
Mm-hmm.
But if you get to the point where, you know, you're 50, 60 years old, you've never done anything physical your entire life, your body's going to deteriorate a whole lot faster. And the money's not going to, you know, it might help you get around, but your health you only got one life, right?
Certainly.
So I think it's not everyone's going to necessarily always feel like that's important, but I can't see it surprised me when people don't think about some of those things down the road. Like I get why I didn't think about it when I was 18, because I was 18. No, we're all kind of dumb at that age. Not dumb necessarily, because there's a lot of smart 18-year-olds. Actually, Side note, I just saw there was another child, like I can't remember what it was. They weren't like inducted, but they were part of this like basically genius group or whatever. She's 6 years old, she by like the time she was talking, she was speaking in Mandarin, and they don't really know why.
Holy cow.
Yeah, like some of these things, like she was walking. She like literally the first time they gave her a bottle, she held it by herself, and I don't know, but she's like like I've seen like some of those, like some of these kids that are. I saw a little while before that, it was another boy who was like 12 or something like that, and graduated, like got it. He had his like master's or PhD from one of these like revered schools, and it was like, what's that kid getting fed?
Like, how do I create one of these children?
Yeah, like that's how do I get me an Elon Musk baby?
Yeah.
But not everyone gets that toolbox right out of the gate, right?
Sure.
But we can all do a little bit of something. Like,
well, if we're not taking care of our health, I mean, let's not even look at it in a selfish way as in taking care of ourselves. We are not promoting healthy future generations by not taking care of ourselves now.
Yeah.
You know, and that's a big reason for why I came off testosterone, because I turned 30 and I started getting older and something clicked in my brain. And I was like, you know, I think like I'm done being crazy and trying to squat 1,000 pounds. And maybe I want to like have a family one day, you know, maybe I should not impair myself from the ability to do that. And along with that comes with me realizing that I need to optimize my health so I can have quality offspring.
Yeah.
You know, and we're at a point where we have a lot of elder people and a lot of younger people. And there's not a lot in between, at least the way I understand it. So once a lot of the older people pass on, we're going to have like a huge decrease in population. So, I mean,
there's not a lot of people having babies. I mean,
No.
they're still having babies. But for the numbers, I think they've kind of plateaued, which is pretty wild considering like population keeps going up, but we're going to stop having babies, and someone's got to carry the torches later on, right?
I would imagine that is part of the problem. They make it so expensive to do so.
Yeah, everything's expensive. So that's like,
well, it's just, I mean, you're really lucky if you get to have 12 weeks off as a mom,
oh yeah,
you know, from work. Dads sometimes get a couple of weeks. That's rare, you know, so it's not only like financially is it hard to, you know, pay for things that you need for a kid, but you already have a job and you have to risk like losing your position because you can't take time off like
yeah.
to raise a baby, you know.
And as much as everything additionally things cost, like you can't lose your job now because there's no way out of the amount of debt people have stacked up. And just the cost of living is so high. Like what you have to have these 2-parent households. You have to have like two income households just to stay afloat for some of these things. Like the house, like to buy a house, like that's damn near impossible now for, you know, a good majority of the population.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, so this isn't going well. Like, so again, but going back to that foresight for people, like I've harped on this literally since the beginning of the podcast for the last couple of years about, you know, the path that our monetary system is going down, and just the politics and the economy and all these different things are continuing to not get better. You know, every single year it's like, all right, maybe we've got this, you know, we're at our bottom, but things keep on happening, right? Keep on shelling out money. Like you're going to have to consider that, like all this debt, it's going to come around to get us to some point. And yeah, maybe it's not our debt, but when a country's so far into printing their own money in debt, like it's not a good history lesson. It doesn't look good. No. You know, no one's ever came out of this situation in history as far as a civilization goes, ever.
Yeah.
Like this. So,
I mean, I fully anticipate, I'm 30 years old now, living through some sort of crash in society where everything starts to go haywire. But I mean, I could be wrong.
Yeah, I think something's coming. I don't know to what degree. You know, hopefully not extensively, but
yeah,
the ingredients are there.
The ingredients are certainly there. I mean, but if anything, it's going to provoke the strong-willed people to start taking initiative to be more prepared.
Yeah. I hope everybody would do that.
Yeah.
Think about that's. I guess that was my point earlier when I mentioned like retirement. Like a lot of people, they think about retirement, and so what is that? It's planning for your future, right? Monetarily. I want to stack some money away so when I get older, I don't have to work. I can just hang out, spend the money that I've stacked up. But we mentioned in health too. Like why aren't people building a health portfolio? Because like I said, if you get there and you're not healthy enough to enjoy the money that you stacked up, what's the point? But at the same time, looking at everything else outside of like just health and money, like what happens if the society that you think can never collapse or change, even a change, people 10 years ago we just came out of the banking crisis and that depression, whatever it was technically called. It's a worse situation now and people aren't talking about it at all. It's like, so every single decade, it seems like just things get worse and worse financially, worse and worse for your safety net for quote unquote retirement. So like, what about all these other things that you're looking like? What happens if this? What happens if you lose power for a week? Just something simple. Do you have the ability to last a week without power? There's some people that don't. Obviously medically, which okay, that makes sense. Like there's people that need, power for medical reasons. But like the average person, I saw the credit card debt now is I think higher than it's ever been or something like, or like 60, it was like 65% of Americans or something like that live paycheck to paycheck. So what happens if something just doesn't work as well?
Yeah.
What are you going to do? You have any type of plan? Most people don't because they don't think about it.
Right.
It's like,
there's so many factors and they're all, when you start accumulating them all, they're uncontrollable.
Oh,
and
yeah.
it's too stressful to
Yeah.
even think about.
Yeah,
But
you're never going to nail them all, right? But just
Yeah.
little things like being healthier. That'll
Sure.
help all things.
And I was bringing that back around to health, and that's like, because this is what I'm very passionate about, health and fitness. The best way we can manage all of that is stress adaptation.
Mm-hmm.
Being able to stay calm within stressful situations. Just like, you're doing the cold therapy. What is that? It provokes acute stress. Makes you highly stressed. You're like, what am I going to do? I got to get out. But once you relax, it's fine.
Okay.
It's fine.
We've been here before.
Yeah. And training our nervous system to be able to stay calm in highly stressful situations is the most efficient way to deal with highly stressful situations. Because we're not going to have the answer for everything,
right.
Unfortunately. I mean, we can prepare to the best of our abilities, but internally, being calm internally through regulating our nervous system and being able to, that might be a little bit too complicated for the way I said it, but just being able to stay calm in the midst of chaos is through putting yourself through extreme physical exertion or the cold plunging or pushing or doing anything that's outside of your comfort zone is the best way to prepare.
Yeah, I was thinking about it's kind of like that's one of the things I like about doing the rucking that I'm doing or getting up and doing the morning workouts that I hate doing, whatever it is now like one of the benefits I've gained from that is you talked about earlier, like confidence in those things where I'm now confident that in myself that when my body's like, can we stop this? Like, let's no, I'm running the show here. We're going to keep my mind has power over my body and you have control of yourself. Cause a lot of times people don't realize how much you don't have control over yourself. And that's another scary thing that if you recognize that, naturally some of the extreme cases are, like drug addictions and, alcoholism and, sometimes people just like sweets too much and they can't stop eating. It's, different, whatever it might be to understand and know, all right, I have control over my body and I can make it do what I want it to do. And especially in those physical or stressful situations where it's like, this sucks. I don't want to do this. It's like, all right, no, come back down. Let's do this. Like, we got this, can do this calmly. Just going to keep on pushing forward and get it done. And then after that, you go, I was able to do that. Like, and I was able to control in my body and tell myself, yep, we're going to get through this. It's fine. And that's to a small extent, like the cold plunges or the cold showers or the workouts, whatever it might be. We're doing a ruck cold plunge. This was it January for the Wayne County Ruck Club that Dustin runs. But like it's easy, but it's like you do like a 3 to 5 mile like ruck down by Pleasant Hill Lake and then jump in the lake. And
That's
it's
awesome.
like I always used to think that was really silly. Like, but now like I get it. Like if you're able to like get into that water and then you get out and you go, oh, okay, because your body's like, oh my God, we're dying. Like we're dying.
Yeah.
Like we gotta cut and run. Like we are dying right now. And then you're like, relax. You get out. It's like your body goes, oh fuck, we feel good now because we're alive. You know, and you can when you are able to sense that and control it and understand what it is, it's like, all right, this is kind of cool.
Sure.
Like, no wonder I feel so good because your body's like, oh, whew, we didn't die.
Yeah.
Now we got all these endorphins and everything running. Like this is awesome. And being able to do that is, it's an accomplishment. Like, you know, and I think people should be proud of, you know, being able to push themselves, you know, physically or mentally being able to do this type of things.
Yeah.
I think it's important. I think it's important to, as a healthy, happy human being, to be able to kind of know you can do that. What you're capable of.
Yeah, it makes you feel like a badass. Makes you feel like once you push yourself beyond a limit that you thought you were capable, even if it is like just getting in a cold shower for 2 minutes, and then getting out, you feel better. You feel better about yourself. You feel more confident in your ability to manage life stressors that are thrown at you sporadically. You know, because you just accomplished something that you perceived to be hard and you realize it wasn't hard.
Yeah.
You know, I'm fine.
Or it was hard and you still did it, which
Or-
is a huge confidence boost.
Mhm.
You know, like that was hard and I still did it. And now this other hard thing, I can accomplish that too. You
Sure.
know,
Yeah. And then you keep doing that. And
because listen, a cold shower is always going to be hard. Like
Well,
I will do them, but I don't like them. They are hard. And jumping in the lake in January, that's not hard, but it does suck. Like it's never going to not suck.
Yeah.
But like it's okay to embrace the suck every now and then, because next time you have to do it for something that could be really important, you know that you can do it. You know, so that is a big deal.
Yeah.
Nice. Adding on to, you were talking about your event, the rucking, and then the getting in the lake. I was going to wait till the end of the podcast, but I've been talking to Craig Noletti. He's got the new Ontario warehouse.
Yeah, he's got a
gym
third
opening up.
one now.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
know. And I'm going to host an event, a testosterone boosting workout. And we're going to do pre-workout cold plunge. I got a cold plunge tub. I'm going to fill it with ice. It's going to be January. We don't have a set date yet, but it's coming soon. And then we're going to do a 2 to 4 minute cold plunge. Me and whatever else. It's mostly men that's going to do it, but women are more than welcome to join. And we're going to do a 2 to 4 minute cold plunge, depending on your level of cold exposure experience.
Yeah. Because that can be dangerous too. So,
Yeah, I know. I have tested the limits on cold plunging, going up to like 24 minutes in January. So, and like in ice water, and there's diminishing return.
Right.
So, but then we'll go to compound movements afterwards. So we'll do squat and bench press. So I think it's going to be cool. Get everybody together, push the limits of the mind and the body together. So
Yeah, sounds like a good. I wonder what the there's got to be a study out there somewhere showing the effects of doing something like a cold plunge before a workout and some of those things.
Yeah.
Because you can almost feel like the physiological like change.
what puts
in your
you
body.
into our body has a sympathetic response from the nervous system and a parasympathetic response. The sympathetic response is a fight or flight response. It's or perceived threat. It's like when there's danger and we need to be hyper aware. And then we have our parasympathetic response, which is rest and digest, they call it. And this is when we're chill and we're homeostasis and we're relaxing and we're, hanging out with the family, eating good food. Cold therapy promotes a sympathetic response, which is the fight or flight. So it gets us hyper aware, we're hyper analyzing everything, and we're very engaged in the moment. We're not sucked back in our we're not sucked back in our heads. We're fully into the prefrontal cortex. And this is going to improve our ability to perform physical exertion because we're very much right here, right here in our sensory awareness and doing whatever it is that we're trying to accomplish. We're not lost in our thoughts by any means. So that's kind of like a little bit of the nervous system science behind, cold exposure. But
When it also like takes energy away from like digestion so that you can put it towards
Yep.
like
blood flow
potentially
goes
like
from
your
the
physical
Yeah, saving your life.
aspects. Yeah, so like
Essentially. What it thinks it's doing.
Yeah, so that is really cool to do it first, so then you can have that little bit of energy. It's like why you don't want to eat a huge meal before you go to the gym because then you're wasting that energy, some of that energy digesting that food.
Right.
So that makes sense.
Yeah, you got to have enough to, and that's I've been not really experimenting, but playing with and I guess dabbling would probably be the right word. Dabbling in, I guess what would be considered like kind of intermittent fasting. Not necessarily intentionally, but just kind of how my days worked out. But I don't know how some of those people like push the intermittent fasting thing to like to 18 hours and you only have those 6 hours to eat. Like, there's no way I could. Of course, there is a way, but like I wouldn't enjoy that. Being able to push myself through like hard workouts and then trying to get enough calories in 6 hours to be able to do that. And it's like, I don't know how people do that, but like I'm good for.
I don't think that's sustainable.
I don't think so. I don't know how you could do that because your body.
I've
just
tried.
Can't. I've tried. Well, it's difficult because now I think the longest I go is probably 14 to 16, but usually like around then I'll have like a snack, like a small snack. But like I don't mind now for the most part getting up early and working out fasted.
Yeah.
Like that like it's
I've been doing the same thing.
That's not too bad. Like it was for a while, like I felt like I was gonna throw up because I'm so hungry. And then I sneeze for whatever reason when I'm like completely in the morning, like I'll get up and like I'm so empty, like I'll just sneeze. I don't know why. I feel like I'm gonna throw up and then I sneeze instead. I don't know. It's a weird thing. But that was difficult to get over, like working out fasted for whatever reason. Like the blood would kind of flow to my stomach and it was just like I need something to eat. But now it took a little while, but now I'm over that.
Yeah.
And I feel much better throughout the day until sometimes I forget to eat though, which is kind of a bummer because like if I'm trying to like keep on a little bit of mass, because I'm down now well over 50 pounds than what I used to be. So like, but I don't really necessarily want to lose any more weight. So it's like, all right, I have to remember to eat too. But there is some of that, like the mental clarity and some of those things I definitely see from, not eating around the clock.
Yeah.
But you said, so how much is for you, where's your sweet spot? Because you said you tried the intermittent fasting.
Yeah.
Like, where do you think that you feel the best as far as like schedule wise eating?
I'm like big into this right now, so I'd love talking about it. Right now, I'm only intermittent fasting a couple days a week, like 2 days. So, and it's usually 16 to 18 hours. I don't become hyper analytical on the times because I feel like it just causes stress. If you're like,
Right.
I have to wait until this time and then this time, just a general.
You have to stop eating by this time because tomorrow
I'm like speeding my way home, trying to hurry up and eat before 8 o'clock or whatever. It's like, what am I even doing?
Right.
But 2 days a week, because I myself, I've lost a lot of weight. I started this year at 255 pounds and now I'm down to 216. And I don't want to lose any more. So because I'm kind of like you, I'll forget to eat. I don't feel the constant need to be eating all the time. And I like how I feel mentally when I'm not eating, because I feel more mentally clear. But our bodies do need calories, so we got to eat.
They got to survive.
So 2 days a week, I'll do like a 18-hour intermittent fast. And then once a month or once every other month, I will go a more extensive fast. And I don't recommend this to anyone unless they really know what they're doing, have done their research, but I'll do like a 24 to 48 hours where I just won't eat. And that's like, and I designate that time for that fast. Like I'm not really working or engaging in work as in like my welding or
activities.
Yes. And it's more of like a time for reconnection with myself and introspection and like just kind of pushing the limits of my mind, But yeah, for a healthy especially because I'm more so focused on men's health. For a man that's, trying to maintain body weight or maybe slowly lose some body fat, if you're intermittent fasting every single day, it's very easy to become malnourished. And especially if this is done for prolonged periods. I don't know anybody that intermittent fasts all year round, personally. There might be some, but and also it hinders metabolism too. Metabolism can be hindered if you go extended periods of time without eating and then gorging on a bunch of food in this little window and then not eating for a long time. It doesn't keep like the furnace burning per se. So I don't think personally that intermittent fasting on a daily basis is optimal. It should be something that should be done intermittently within itself throughout the week.
And it makes sense. I always like to kind of think about these things, and this is just my own science. So there's I haven't done any like super.
I think
research
that's all we
behind
all
this.
have is our own
But
science.
it feels for things to fluctuate, it feels like natural. You think about how we've survived as humans in the past, whether you want to consider it how we evolved to become how we are, or we were created that way, or we were bred in a petri dish that way, whatever it is. There was a time period where we didn't have all these excess types of foods like constantly around us all the time. The need, and not the need, the ability to eat incredibly caloric dense food whenever we wanted to. And it tasted like, the most addictive thing. It's a drug in a sense now for some of these foods. Like, tell me Cheetos or Doritos aren't fucking drugs, and because I'll just mow them all down. You're like, what? Like, it is like what's in, like, what am I eating right now? It's like it feels like a drug. But you look back, it's we were gonna have times where we didn't have food for a little bit, but we snacked on things, on plants, whatever it might be, and then we got there. We ran on our vegan diet and caught our protein, and now all right, we have an abundance. So we smash this protein, but then we're still having these times of these intermittent fasts occasionally that, hey, we're out of food. We gotta do something now, and that would change throughout seasons too, right? What's available? Is the fish available? Is the elk or the bison or whatever are these protein sources, and are these food sources, even with plants, they're only available during certain seasons, typically. So your diet's gonna kind of fluctuate and change, and that, to me, like, that seems natural.
It is.
So it's all right if I can, as a general thought, the healthiest to me in my mind, I would think, all right, well, if I can generally eat as whole food as possible, real food, whatever it might be, without additional chemicals and make believe things that I don't know what they are. And I guess they're not make believe, that someone made them. But things that weren't just like created in a laboratory, or powders that are mixed together to like make it look like fake meat, whatever all these things are. But if you can just eat the most natural food whenever you're able to get it, I know it's made a giant difference in how I feel. And it's like, all right, well, it makes sense. All right,
Certainly.
I'm going to be able to have this every once in a while, and then we're going to switch to this, and not always stuck on one thing. Naturally, if I know people I've never gone like a full blown diet. Like, I've never done the carnivore diet or a vegan diet or anything that's like super strict. But I think if you find something that suits you, that fits you, I also think our genes depend on that too. Like, dairy, I don't have any problem with dairy products, or any type of animal product. Never, I don't. But some people, they can't eat dairy. They can't have certain types of foods because their body doesn't like it. Well, it's probably, my assumption would be, or at least theory is, well, it goes back to your genetics and where your people lived on the earth. There's areas where it's going to be a lot easier in northern countries to keep dairy products and animal products more readily available because you can keep them colder. They don't spoil. You know, stuff, different things like that. So it's like, eat what makes you feel good, but let's try to make it real food.
Yeah.
Right.
Certainly. I learned while I was I ate vegan for 6 months over this past summer, that your body temperature decreases. I was cold all the time. Why? I was not eating any sort of meat or animal products. And this was during the summer, and I found it very weird. It's because your digestive system is not being worked very hard, because when you digest food, it creates heat within your body.
Right. Yeah, you're expending energy.
Yeah, you're expending energy
And heat. And that
by
makes sense.
digesting food. And my mindset was, okay, if I expend less energy digesting food, I'll have more energy to output, which did contribute to endurance. So yes, it did play a factor. But now it's been getting cold again, which also made me like, hey, maybe I should start eating meat again. This is just me naturally thinking, because when we eat meat, it's harder to digest. So it creates more heat within your digestive tract. And this is what keeps us warm during the winter. So it would make sense for someone down south, way down south, say in Mexico, to like never really need to eat much meat, because they're out in the sun and they got lots of produce. But us up here up north, regionally and seasonally, we should probably eat some meat during the winter to keep us warm. Yeah. Like, this is logical thinking on something that we've overcomplicated over years.
That's the key, right? The overcomplication of it. I don't know. Have you ever heard of the show Life Below Zero? It's on.
I have not.
I can't remember if it's on Disney or the National Geographic, but essentially what it's an actual reality show. It follows occasionally the camera crews go out to these people that all live up in Alaska, around or above the Arctic Circle. So like this one lady runs a camp with an airport for like scientists and hunters to come out. Like, she lives, I think, like 40 miles or something like that off the north coast of Alaska. So like but then there's it follows like a family that's I can't remember exactly what they are, but there's a family that's like a native family that's lived up there for generations, their entire lives, and like there's a guy that has like this little tiny little cabin that sits on this lake where he has to get dropped off. Like, they have to fly in on a water plane and drop him off on his lake, and then see you later. And he just lives there throughout whenever he's out there. He lives most of the time out there, but he talks about like in the winter, it's like he's trying to find the fattiest animals possible because he needs the fat, because it's the most calorically dense food to keep him warm and to keep weight on during the winter. So it's like, you realize like there's people that are out there just completely living off the land, 100%. Like, it can be done, but kind of gleaning some of like what they do in their lives, it's like, oh, like this makes sense. Like, it makes sense that like you're not going to survive as a vegan around the Arctic Circle.
No,
I know
it's not going to freeze it up.
Yeah, because that's the old, like, sometimes for months the only food is, if you're lucky, a caribou or something that comes across. There's no soil there to grow any food. So like those people have to be herbivore, or they have to be herbivores. They have to be omnivores at minimum, just to survive. So it's like, I think whatever you want to do, obviously, is your prerogative. But I do think a lot of it has something to do with genetics and where your traits come from, where your ancestors come from. At least it would make logic sense to me.
Yeah, I think it does.
So what makes you feel good?
Yeah.
But so have you done any testing recently? Because I know you had gotten your labs last time.
126 total testosterone in May.
So in May. So have you done one recently?
At the end of the year, I'm doing another one.
You're doing
because
one?
That'll be my year marker.
Okay.
I had like I feel like the curiosity killed the cat. I feel like that kind of has the same thing with testosterone. You anticipate this number, and then you associate your testosterone levels with a number that may be fluctuating a lot. So I decided, I was like, I don't want to test it. I just want to see how I feel. It doesn't really matter that much anyway, because I'm set out to doing this. I'm going to find a way to restore my natural testosterone levels no matter what. There is no turning back. At least that's been my mentality. And I've worked my way through the hardest part of it.
Right.
So yeah, here at the end of the year, I'm going to get it checked again, see where I'm at. I don't want to speculate or have any sort of observation of what it may be. It just is what it is.
Yeah, I said no, because I know you were talking about doing it, and so I didn't know if where those numbers were at, because it's fun to see the data too, right?
Yeah.
But ultimately, as long as if you're feeling good and if you're feeling better than you ever have, then I get, at some point, like, what's it matter?
Right.
Like you said, a number can be, especially a hormone that's fluctuating constantly.
Sure.
Like, you don't want to, especially if you don't want to put that in your head of, oh, I have to feel this way because I know this number.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it'll be cool to see though.
Yeah.
To see how you, especially, I would imagine, it's increased if you're feeling better, because that's a pretty good marker of, high testosterone. It feels awesome. So you can only imagine if you're feeling better, it's got to be coming back, because it's a depressing thing to have that low testosterone. So I get, guys on TRT, especially as you get older, those different things, because sometimes your body is still falling apart. Like, you only got so many times you can, replicate your cells, right? So something, these things do start giving at some point.
Right.
So, but it's doing it, if you can do it naturally. Mm-hmm. I don't see any negative in that, the why not? Is there more positive than negative? Yeah, cool. But if there's still negative, so how can we mitigate as much negative as possible, while feeling better?
Right.
Sometimes it's worth it. Sometimes it's not.
Yeah.
But everyone has to make that decision themselves, I suppose.
Yep.
So.
It's purely individual. Yeah. How they want to live their lives, what their goals and morals are. Yeah. Yeah. Everyone's
like,
there's a couple guys, that were doing this whole coming off TRT thing with me, and they decided they didn't want to do it anymore, and that's fine. Like, they chose a different avenue, and I was like, I want to figure out a way to do it, because I know there's a lot of young guys that have dabbled in pro hormones, even some of these SARMs, and obviously steroids in themselves, but that have tampered with their natural hormones. And I want to find ways to help these guys, so I'm going to put myself through whatever I've had to figure out a solution, even if it was being a vegan for 6 months. And I look back on that, I'm like, what a silly thing to do. But, I learned a lot from it.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. And now you can say, yeah, I've tried it. This is what it did for me. This is how I felt. And I decided it wasn't for me. So, I commend you for that. Because there's a lot of times people are, I'm not doing that. But, well, have you ever tried it? Well, I don't know. It's like a elimination diet. It's like, that's probably a good thing for people to do just occasionally. Think about what you're putting in your body. What are the things you're doing, and going, all right, do I really need that? It's probably not great for me. Maybe I should cut some of that out. I love bourbon, but it's like, do I need to drink it all the time? No, probably not. Should I drink it less? Absolutely. I know I should. So, like, you know what? Let's try doing that.
Yeah.
Why not? Like, it's not going to hurt me. Like, so let's try doing that less. Like, let's try making these baby steps to just improve things. Like, why not? And then, like, some people, you go, no, just kidding. That wasn't for me. I'm going to go back to what I was doing. But oftentimes it feels like, as you make these steps and you inherently become healthier, you kind of look back and go, no, that was the right, I feel better now. And so why you want to go back to doing something just because, like, all right, no, I feel better now. So let's continue to do this, because this feels good. I don't feel like, I'm already starting to get decrepit because I'm pushing 40 and I'm going to be over the hill. Like, well, no, this feels pretty good. I feel like I'm in probably some of the best shape of my life. I guess we'll just keep on doing it. Because it feels good. Why not? If it helps, if you're doing something that's consistently making your life better, then all right, let's continue to focus on those things, right?
Certainly. And
if you get called weird or whatever it is, or people look at you funny, then
I'm a loony for sure. I will say I do anticipate my testosterone levels be quite a bit higher. I mean, I could be wrong, but because I'm not so chronically overtrained now. Because before I had this mentality that I got to keep doing all of these things to get my hormones back to par, back to where they need to be. Right. And I'm doing so with impaired recovery ability.
Right.
And lower testosterone levels. I was unable to recover. And then I learned that I was chronically overtrained because I had low testosterone and I was trying to do things to continually increase my testosterone. And really, I just needed to chill out for a while and eat some good quality food, and let my body rest. And I've learned that now, and I've slowed myself down and not feel like I need to train like an animal every single day. That's part of my mentality. It's like I'm like, you just put me on it, and like I'm just gonna give it everything I got. But that doesn't always apply to natural to training naturally. You have to, you push the limit, you train as hard as you can, and then you need to implement extensive and adequate recovery afterwards. Because, just like with the whole, I mean, I don't know how you feel about things, but like training, you gotta be in the gym every single day, 6 days a week, training hard, lifting weights. It's like, yes, these things are great and they strengthen the mind, but when it comes to our hormones, this is inhibiting.
Yeah.
Because we're not recovering. Our cortisol levels will be chronically elevated, which is hindering hormonal balance at this point. So knowing when to push the envelope in the gym and knowing when to push myself to new limits and be extreme, and then also knowing when to just relax and spend time with family and quit taking myself so seriously and
Right.
and be a normal person, quote unquote.
Right.
That's helped a lot. Balance.
Right. Balance.
Balance.
Yeah. I've always been a proponent for recouping.
Yeah.
Even when I was really heavy into it, I typically only lifted 4 days a week.
It's good. Yeah.
Because when I went in, I was in there for 2.5 hours, and I was sore. And I was getting recovery help, but still, it was like I could feel like, all right, my body needs this recovery time because it's still damaged. So, but I've seen it even more now. Like I don't work out nearly as hard, so I work out more often. But I still kind of plan my week is, all right, how am I feeling today? Well, my hammies are really sore, so I'm not going to deadlift because I'm already sore. So let's do something different. What isn't sore? What doesn't hurt on me today, right? And then I think the rucking, adding that in a day, because that's helped me out a lot too. Because it's like, all right, now like I take typically what's been like I take like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and kind of lift, and I always do cardio too, but a little bit. But then it's like, all right, well now I can just go one because I have to prepare for this I don't have to prepare. That's not really a competition, but I just don't want to hurt for like the week after. Like I don't want to be destroyed for like a whole week after I do this thing. So I'm like, all right, I had to prepare.
Yeah.
But it's been really nice because it's all it is now I'm working my joints, my ligaments, my tendons, my cardio a little bit, and just carrying this weight on my back instead of really impacting my muscles a lot. So that gives me another day during the week to rest. And then usually I might go in on the weekend once, but it's just kind of like I'm just going to show up, and hang out, do something, do a little bit, just move. But even then, that there's always one day where I'll do stuff around the house, or whatever. But it feels like my body feels good. Just hey, let's take a moment, let's take a break, let's recoup, let's refresh, and then the next day when I go back to the gym, it feels even better. So it's like I've noticed that when you take those little breaks, you can't take long ones because then at least for me, I get lazy. It's like, well, I'll go back in now. But those little breaks are really beneficial as long as you're able to get back right into it. Because consistency with anything that's always going to be the most, at least in my mind, almost all things, consistency is going to be the most important. 2 steps forward, 1 step back, or even if it's 2 steps forward one day and 3 steps back, if you don't continue to try to take those steps forward, they're just all going to be backwards. So why not continue to push forward? But yeah, resting is a really important thing. And I think even more so mentally resting, going out, go get some fresh air, like turn the screens off, go outside. Obviously this time of year, it's a little bit not as fun, but I don't go out and walk around Christmas, go to your town or something like that. And if they have little shops, just go out and get some fresh air and walk.
Yeah.
Go find a trail and just, I always hate doing it. Like I remember she always be like, oh, let's go hiking. I don't want to go hiking. But then after you do it, you go, well, that feels good. Like I feel better now. Like disconnecting and getting some fresh air and a little bit of nature, I don't think it's ever hurt anybody at all.
Yeah.
And a little bit of rest,
Nature is definitely very powerful.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Being out away from all of the digital, the straight, like in nature, everything's like fluent and everything, evolves and everything's natural. The sounds that we're hearing, we hear the birds chirping, we get the good quality oxygen that comes from the cytoplasm and the plants, and like I geek out about all this stuff. And just being out of a confined space and being out in the open, in nature, breathing good oxygen, moving your body, I think that's one of the best, probably it is the best thing you can do for your mental health, especially along with physical health.
Yeah, it's the nature and being out and doing physical work, and I like finding things that are fun to do. And so like rucking just kind of sucks the whole time because it's like it's my intent is I'm carrying this weight and I'm powering through. It's a very much a physical exercise. Like that's the point of the thing. It does obviously still feel great, but like there's still a little bit of like constant like suck that nags at you. But like obviously I know this isn't for everybody, but hunting is definitely one of the things that I was introduced to because I wasn't brought up in a family that like really hunted or anything. But the in-laws introduced me to it, and like that in hunting in a way, depending, there's a couple different ways you can do it naturally, but that is super enhances my mood and the capabilities like connecting with nature, because now I can go hiking through the woods for a purpose and to be able to connect like to nature. And the goal is to kill something, but it's to bring it back home to feed my family as well. And that's been a one of the things that I think I've learned that's been a giant blessing to me, at least, is knowing I have the ability to go out in the middle of the woods, have the physical capabilities of hiking up and down these mountains, and being able to harvest food, being able to process it, knowing how to take care of it, and then bringing it home and being like, dinner.
Yeah.
Like that is something that it's very difficult to even describe, like how it like makes you feel, you know? So it's like that kind of nature.
That's like ultimate manliness.
Like
I went out and brought home dinner for the family.
Yeah, I don't really think about
it.
He cooks
it too.
Oh, nice.
I do. Yeah, I'm the meat cooker, but I don't really think about it that way. But I mean, maybe that's why I enjoy it so much, because like internally, it's just like that primal instinct. But getting exercise, like enjoying nature, and that's one of the things I love most about hunting. Is going bow hunting. The vast majority of the time, I'm just sitting.
Yeah.
I just get to sit there and listen to the birds, watch the squirrels, and it's just the most relaxing like peace you could really have, is being in nature and just everything is dead silent. And just you feel more of a part of it, right? Than I do when I'm carrying around, weight on my back, trying to ruck and get a physical exercise in, which is fun too. But there is something to that. I don't know if whatever spiritual means to you, there's a spiritual thing about disconnecting from technology and all these fluorescent lights and everything like that, and just sitting with what is us, in a sense, nature. Just
we're an organism, just like nature is an organism on a bigger scale, and we are interdependent within each other. We need nature just as much as it needs us to we coexist.
Yeah, we're
disconnected now, sitting in here. But
we're just like the bacteria in our bodies, right? The bacteria on the earth. I've ever seen that. I saw a video where they took I don't know if it was a drone. They went way, way up, and they were filming a beach of people, and they sped it up, and it looks like the edge of a cell with like bacteria.
Really?
Like it looked like you were looking at something through a microscope, but it was actually a drone looking at people going in and out of the water hanging out the beach, sped up. And it was like, oh yeah, we're all part of this thing. And that's what the ocean is. It's like monster soup, man. But we're just the bacteria in this monster soup. And it's like, that's really neat.
Monster soup. I like it.
There's well,
Yeah.
it's like what is it? Like 80% of the ocean is unexplored or something like that.
Yeah.
Like that's terrifying.
Sure.
I don't know what's out there, but I think there's definitely things obviously that we still haven't discovered at the bottom of the ocean. But one of my theories that I think there might be some aliens out
I was about to say it, but you said it first.
there.
There's aliens in the bottom of the ocean. We're looking up here and they're down there. We're looking at the wrong spot.
Yeah, there's something down there for sure. Yeah, that's a lot. There's a lot when you realize how much is out there. You know, if it's all spherical and they tell me just like it is what it is, how much like just volume of space is the ocean that then we only know tiny fractions of it.
Right.
It's wild. I was watching a show that they were looking for. Was it Atlantis they were looking for? I don't know, but they might have been Atlantis. They were kind of like, all right, they're like going back through all of the like the legends and the writings and stuff and trying to like guesstimate where this would be at. So they were going through these different parts of the ocean looking for evidence of civilizations, different stuff like that. And they found some like shipwrecks and different things, but you know, them talking about, oh, we're going to this spot in the ocean to like look for something. And you realize like it's just they show you where these people are out in the boat talking about it. And they're like, yeah, we're looking at this, you know, so much, 5 mile radius area. And it's just all water. You know, they're out there. It's like, that's a big area to search for something in the ocean. When you really zoom out, like a 5 mile radius is just a pinhead in the ocean where it's like, well, who knows like how much stuff is just out there that we have no idea is there.
Right.
Monster suit, that's terrifying. Maybe.
Well, think of it more like from a fitness related viewpoint. I mean, our bodies are 75% water, so we would naturally be attracted to know what's in the deepest, darkest bodies of water on the planet. You know, I don't know. We consist of. That's what most of our body consists of: carbon and water.
Yeah, we're
20% of our mass is carbon, and 75% of our overall body is water.
It's kind of it hurts my brain to try to think about. No, I don't think I necessarily always want to know what's at the bottom of the ocean. There's some big creatures down there that, like, well, just like the fact that, like, sharks. Well, I think those are. Well, I'd say like those are like one of the longest living like creatures. I suppose like hundreds of millions of years old. Like, I think they know something.
Yeah,
but they're not telling us. And whales, and like jellyfish, and how intelligent like octopus are. Something's going on. Those things are weird. Something's
extremely weird.
There. I don't know. But I don't know. I'm having a hard time with this whole extraterrestrial thing. I don't know, with everything going.
Well, anytime the media emphasizes something,
yeah,
it's like, why?
Bullshit.
Exactly. I
don't know what to do with it because it's like, you guys lied to me enough. What's the real story here?
Yeah,
I don't know. I still people like reach out to me like, what do you think about this? And it's like, I don't. I really don't. That's one of the things I have plenty of theories, but I don't.
Yeah. And they're all theories.
Yeah.
But maybe we'll see. Maybe we're going to get to see something crazy.
I'd love to meet an alien.
I would too.
I think it'd be awesome. I hope they don't
if they're not already here amongst us.
Yeah. I think there's something, I don't know what exactly it is, but I think it's already been here. It's been here the entire time. I've hypothesized sometimes that maybe one idea is that they're some like the UFOs and stuff we see are just like AI drones from the past. To where
because there certainly are UFOs.
There obviously there's something
we can't argue that
there's something out there that we either can't or won't explain what it is.
Yeah, can't or won't.
Either way, there's something going on that somebody can't or won't explain what it is. But I'm a firm believer that we had I just lost the word. Accelerated and a sophisticated civilization tens of thousands of years.
Yeah. Well, you can't explain the pyramids without Yeah.
And I just posted something the other day about Göbekli Tepe that's like 12,000 years old. And I think there's plenty of evidence to show that there was mass catastrophe like 12,000 years ago. So, and there's plenty of evidence to show that they weren't just hunters and gatherers then either.
Yeah.
So like, who knows? Maybe they had some kind of artificial intelligence, because we're coming on that too. That's going to change everything. In the next decade is going to, or I guess maybe century, next decades, things are going to get really weird.
Yeah.
But the next century, I think it's going to be completely, we're going to change, the face of what we are for sure.
I agree.
So
we can utilize it, I feel, to some extent, but we also have to be very careful with it. Because I know just like being on my phone or whatever, things that I don't even type in will pop up as advertisements. Like things I'm just like thinking about sometimes. And it really freaks me out sometimes. And maybe that's me just creating an illusion. I don't know. But I certainly think that our cellular technology knows a lot more about us than a lot of us believe.
Oh, I agree with that. I mean, even it wasn't that long ago where people, 10 years ago, if you had told somebody, "Oh, your phone's listening to you," yeah, right.
Yeah, I know.
No, it's not listening to. Okay, like you conspiracy theorists, whatever, and then, oh, by the way, the government actually has used your phones to actually listen to you, and yeah, they're feeding you ads because they've connected something in the algorithm, or you're around people. Like now, it's just common knowledge. Yeah, it does, like all the time. Your phone just constantly listening to you, collecting your data, all these different things. Like it's just happening. So what are we gonna just accept in another 50 years or another 100 years? Like you have Neuralink. Like there's gonna be lines of people going, yeah, hook me up, jack me in, give me the Neuralink so I can have the internet in my head. There's absolutely people that would do that. There's definitely gonna be people trying to, because you can't have anything, it feels like, in this world anymore without somebody trying to make a buck off of it. And that's the most terrifying part of it is, what are we going to use? What's going to become of us just because somebody wanted to make some?
Right.
Because those are the most terrifying things that I've seen in, our generation, is all these like things that they're peeling the covers back of. Oh yeah, this whole disastrous thing that killed thousands and thousands of people. It was just all about money. And this is all about money, and that's all about money. Like I love that the people, all the climate change activists walking around in their clothes and using their iPhones to like talk about something. It's like, do you know where the iPhone came from? Do you know where your electric car comes from? Do you know how those things are made? No, maybe you should look into that. So at least you're not ignorant of the situation at hand, because some of these things are coming at a cost. Are you okay with that or not?
Right. I made friends with this older fella in Mansfield. His name's Art. He's almost 90 years old. And I was over at his house yesterday talking to him. And he's very up to date on everything. And he has a lot of years of experience. And he's seen a lot of changes. And he was like, yeah, when I was a kid and people started watching TV, that was like bad. Like, you don't watch TV. You don't put one of those demon boxes in my house, Right. And I'm like, wow. It's like, and look at us now. He's like, and he was like, he told me, he's like, to be a part of society, we have to evolve with technology and with the way things are going. We can either do that or try to escape it somehow, but there really is no way of escaping it. It's just trying to find ways to balance innovation and sticking to our roots at the same time. It's difficult. I haven't figured out what it looks like.
Yeah, I think it look a little different for everybody, but I think, to your point, it's important to have balance, right? In whatever you do.
Yeah.
Whether it be your diet, your how you interact with society, your health, all these different things. It's if you don't have some kind of moderation, like I feel like there's only so many like David Goggins, which granted he does what he does, but like that takes tolls on other parts of his life. So, but if that's what's important to him, then hey, go out there and keep on running, brother. Like, go out and get it. But I haven't read his book or any of his books, but I talked to a couple people about it, and it's like he kind of walks through some of the things that how much like his determination for the physical prowess that he has and how he has to do that to I don't whatever it is takes tolls on romantic relationships and friends and stuff like that because this is what his primary focus is on and that's what he goes for. So if that's what you want, great, but let's think about all these things together, and is this the life you want to live, whatever it might be, but completely unhealthy or too healthy, whatever that means.
Yeah.
Pushing it too far. I don't know.
Yep.
What other kind of tolls is it taking? What kind of path are you taking in life? There's a lot of different paths to take.
Yeah, I can definitely I don't want to say relate, but I can understand maybe bits and pieces of David Goggins' mindset, just because from my bodybuilding, powerlifting, and now me taking this whole hormone optimization thing to such an extreme throughout this year. And I've really realized that it does take a lot of joy away from your life. And joy and happiness is what mankind needs, because that is what we're so limited with. We're so limited by all these external satisfactory ways to find satisfaction through external measures.
Fake stimulation.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a drug.
Yeah. It's like I don't want the fancy house. I don't want the fancy car and all the stuff. I want human connection. I want real intimacy. I want to see people to start coming together. It's a totally different mindset.
Well, it feels it kind of I get what you're saying because I used to be very much of a people hater. Like I don't want anything to do with people. Screw people. F off, leave me alone. Yeah. And I'm still very much an introvert in a sense. Running a podcast, but this is doing this and having those connections with people, and when you have a serious a moment, like a connection with somebody, there's nothing quite like that. It's like I can't do small talk. I'm the worst at small talk because it's like what's the point? What am I doing? Like not only I don't want to waste my time, and not that talking to somebody that I don't know is wasting my time, but like it could be. And if I don't know you, what are we doing here? What's the point? But there is a connection that when you give back to your community, it always sounds kind of cheesy. But when you do something that helps other people out, you realize there's a piece of you that's being kind of helping to lay the foundation of a community around you and to kind of change this, trajectory that we're on. If you don't like the way things are going, step in and do something about it. But you have to step in and be that yourself, right? And that's the hard part. So if you can't take care of yourself, how are you going to take care of anybody else? And I think that's a really important part of when you, at least what I've seen a lot of other people, is when they start taking care of themselves, they look around and they're much more aware of their community, their friends, their family, and they go, oh, there's more out here than just, chasing the dollar or, Sunday football games or whatever it might be. There's a lot to life. I know Sunday football games are fun. They're great, but some people that's what they live for. It's whatever it might be, that takes up your life, that find a way to enjoy the things you enjoy, but, have something more that kind of connects them all together. And like you said, the community bringing people together. There's something to that, I still haven't quite figured out exactly how to describe it, or without being woo woo, whatever. But there's
my mind's going super woo woo right now.
Yeah, but there's something there, there without a doubt. I guess being woo woo about it. If someone walks, if someone well, if it's your intimate partner or a family member or your kid or your parents or whatever it might be, everyone can understand their parents walking in the room and not being in a good mood. As a child, you instantly know that.
Yeah.
Even if they don't say anything, their demeanor, and you can almost sometimes you get to know somebody, their feelings are almost palpable. You can, even without knowing it, so I think there's definitely something to being woo woo about our energy and what we put out and what we allow in, and again having some sort of control over that, and doing something about it.
Certainly.
There's a lot of ways to do that, I suppose, but
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, I know I can certainly, and the way I perceive it, this is also very woo, but I have different interactions with different people, and I feel different types of sensations talking to different people. Like some people, I'll know right off the bat that I have a connection with this person, and it call it energetic or vibrational or whatever it may be, but we automatically click and start having genuine conversation. While other people I'll talk to, and and this is also woo, it feels like I'm talking to a non-practical character. It's like this, like there's nothing here. And
Yeah.
this like goes back to what you're saying is like I don't want to waste my time, and that could be a good or bad thing, because I think we can learn something from everybody,
Yeah.
but there's definitely something that's unseen, and there's patterns, unseen patterns to when you're trying to improve yourself and improve your life that you should probably follow, feelings and sensations that are going to lead you to wherever it is you're trying to get.
Oh, yeah.
And this is very generic way of saying things, but I would hope some people could relate.
Yeah, well, I think if you look at the opposite of that, right? Negativity.
Yeah.
I think everyone can kind of connect with it. Think about somebody that's incredibly negative all the time, and you have to deal with them. Like their negativity 100% pours over onto you. Even if you try to shake it off as much as possible, being around somebody that's super negative all the time, it's bringing the mood down, whatever it might be, that's exhausting. It's
Exhausting.
work. Or even if somebody that isn't necessarily negative, but you just don't get along with, and that's okay. There's sometimes out there you're gonna meet people. You're gonna have to be around people. We try to teach our kid this in a sense that like you're not gonna like them. They're not gonna like you, and that's okay. But you can still treat them with respect. You can still treat them nicely. But it doesn't mean you have to be best friends with them. Sometimes you're just not gonna your energies just aren't gonna align. And those people. Same thing with people that you get along with really well. So like a lot of times people, at least I have seen like where I'm chasing, not necessarily chasing, but pursuing happiness or whatever it might be. Um, and it's difficult sometimes to pursue happiness, but I think there's always an opportunity to look in your life and um, focus on what's negative and then try to get rid of it.
Mhm.
Because inevitably, the more negative you get rid of, well, the more positive is going to be in the bucket. Even if there's not a lot of positive things going on in your life, if you have 25% positive things in your life and 75% is just a fucking disaster and a wreck. Well, if you get rid of 25% of the 75 negative things, well, now you're at 50-50. Now half your life is positive. Well, let's keep on getting rid of those negative things. Even if we're not getting more positive things, you can make your life better by getting rid of the negative. Sometimes it's people, sometimes it's a job or a food or, whatever it is. Like sometimes I think, at least for me, I've noticed cutting things out of my life is often even better than adding good things to it. Naturally, I take all the good things, but sometimes there's only so many good things to go around. So, all right, well, let's take out the things that are causing me issues.
Right.
Like, I don't like fighting. I don't like drama. I can't deal with it. It's like, I don't want it.
Yeah.
So
it's intolerable.
Yeah. I don't, there's no reason for it. So let's cut that out.
Yeah.
Get that out of here. Even if something isn't going better, at least they're not going worse.
Right.
Sometimes that's helped me, at least in times, stay afloat, as it were.
Cutting out these things can also be contributed to restoring testosterone, or in terms of emotional healing. Some people may understand this concept better that way, but it involves cutting out negativity in your life or unnecessary external stressors that you have control over. And these are inhibiting, cortisol and hormones, and I've noticed the more I have learned to accept and appreciate myself for who I am And that has pulled me away from the negativity because I would no longer tolerate it, just like what you said. And healing myself emotionally has contributed to me feeling better overall, hormonally, like matter of fact. And I have no data to prove that, but it is my experience, and it's 100% true from what I have witnessed.
Yeah.
You know, um, yeah,
Well, I think if you look at some of the things that are proven, that, cold plunges are proven to uh, make your body react in a physiological way.
Hmm.
So the environment that your body is interacting with is changing your body.
yes, can't argue
Simply
that.
put.
Yep.
And if you look at, continuing to talk about, emotions and whatnot, and just the mental health piece of it, if you look at the people in your life, the things around you, whatever it might be, your job, your friends, your family, whatever it might be, um, those people are impacting you as well. Your environments are interacting. Whether you think that may be on a quote unquote physical level, like an actual, like, there's, auras around your body that are interacting, on a, whatever it might be, some kind of wave, right? Some kind of physical, not just emotions, or just other emotions of people just put you in a bad mood. If someone's negative, it tends to bring everyone down, regardless if that's, perceived or there's something further going on there.
Right.
Into the woo woo, whatever you want to
Yeah.
think it. Which
The woo's the new
yeah,
conspiracy theory that's
but
not so conspiracy
yeah, I
theory
think there's
anymore.
probably something more to that. But
Yeah.
I think there's something there. Because we've had a discussion, Cass and I, like, particularly because we've been together so long. If she's having a bad day, I feel it. Like, I can palpably, like, it's there. I can feel it. So I think there's something more to that. But if you're constantly allowing all these negative things to happen in your life, or emotional things to happen, or you're constantly involved in drama, whatever it might be, well, that's an external environment to your body that is affecting your body.
Yes.
Like, regardless of how much you want to think it is or not, like, it's another external force that it is affecting you. It's changing you. So it's doing something to your body. Just like the sun. You stand out in the sun, you get some vitamin D. It's a hormone.
Yeah.
That does something to your body because your body is interacting with an external source of something. So I see people's emotions in some way, shape, or form. We are affecting each other on a, spiritual or whatever level it is. There's something. I don't know what it is, but I don't claim to know what it is, but it's I think there's something to it. I don't see how there's not.
Yeah. At least from what I'm perceiving, there's certainly something to it.
Yeah.
Because how I'm feeling each day, I don't want to use the word manifest because it's thrown around a lot, but it ultimately projects into my interactions. If I'm beating myself up, I'm being hard on myself, and I'm not taking care of myself, and I'm tired and groggy, everything I'm seeing out here, because that's what I'm focused on and what I'm fixated on, is the fact that I'm not feeling well. Everything out here is not feeling well. I don't want to talk to that person. I don't want to talk to that person because I'm not feeling good. So, I mean, from a woo viewpoint, it's, my internal beliefs manifest into my external beliefs. But ultimately, it is your environment, and how you're feeling internally is going to be how you're going to act externally. So, in the simplest way of saying things.
Yeah. And I think there's everything we've talked about today. I think it comes down to, we have the capability of altering how we react from our environment, right?
Yep. Stress adaptation.
Yeah. So I think kind of tying that all together is, there's some external forces that we can't control, but we can control how we react to them, in a sense, and we can control what we do with them. You know, um, whether it be, again, the food you're eating or the emotional relationships you have around you. There is some level of control that we all have of being able to, take something. Am I going to do something with this? Am I going to get rid of it? Am I going to turn it into a benefit for me? Or is it only going to bring me down? Whatever it might be, we do have a little bit of control over that. And I think the more, at least the more I've recognized that, then it's like, okay, I can do something. I can do something with this. And seeing people do what you've done and what you're doing is just another encouragement to, myself because I can connect with your story and being able to look at that and seeing different people changing their lives, regardless of how they're doing it, whether it's building a business or, you know, getting away from like drug addictions or bettering their, whatever it might be, it's really inspiring to see somebody take their life and go, you know what, I can change this. People can change. I can change. I can control my environment, what I'm doing and where I'm going to some extent. And that's really encouraging to see what you're doing.
And even more so, I think okay, maybe someone's listening to this and they are done with their life. That's fine. But like, what about kids, right? So introducing these steroids or whatever you started when you were 18, right? So we have a 12-year-old right now. What are we feeding her that is affecting her hormones, right? Or if, someone has a 16-year-old or a 5-year-old, like these are really important things that our parents weren't aware of when we grew up, right? So we just ate whatever was available and things were convenient then. And now that we can be educated on this, maybe you don't want to make changes for your own life, which is sad, but what about your kids, that are like here and they're dependent on you and, they just, I don't know. It just seems like you're a grown adult making these changes for hormones that have been disrupted. But like we're disrupting our children's hormones because it's convenient,
Yeah. Or it's because it's
Or
something they want.
Yeah. Or because we don't want to tell them no because we want to be like the friend parent. And I know that it's so difficult being a nurse. I know that it's so difficult. Just I hear my providers tell patients, well, watch your cholesterol, watch your carb intake, watch your fat. Like, what does that mean? Watch it what? They're not given parameters. They're not given, cut your protein down. If you have poor kidney, I had a doctor tell me to cut my protein down because of kidney function issues.
Creatinine? Was your creatinine high?
No, I had a GFR that came back elevated. I'm a type 1 diabetic. He didn't ask me how much protein I was consuming. He just said cut it in half. That doesn't work for me. Like, that doesn't make sense to my brain. Like, how do you know what I mean? What if I'm only eating 40 grams of protein?
Right.
Then, like, what are we looking at here? And so I'm pretty sure it came down to a supplement issue. I think a casein shake was causing it. So now I have a different provider who's doing lab work with me right now. It came back perfectly normal. I've added it back in, and then we're going to check it again in 6 weeks to see if that was the issue instead of, the doc just saying, cut your protein in half.
Right.
And then if it comes back normal, just stay at that protein
level.
level.
That was a programmed answer.
And that doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
And it's someone who no, that doesn't, I wasn't going to settle with that. But it's hard for people because they don't know. They trust their doctors. They trust what they're going to say. And I love the providers I work with. It's just, they don't know.
Yeah.
So like you bring a kid into the world and you want the best for them and you just hope that a doctor's going to like be right, but they're not always. And so I don't know. It is encouraging to see somebody doing it for themselves, but it's also encouraging as a parent, like, what can we set her up for so she doesn't have these same issues as she's growing up, So she's using the all-natural deodorant. She's using the soap that I make that doesn't have toxins in it. We're burning our last candle because she bought it for me. Because it's putting things in the air, and those are easy things that we can change. She's not allowed to put plastic in the microwave anymore because that was just a thing that we would do because
no one ever told us.
No one knew that it was going to, affect things. And, now she understands like the difference between an egg from the store and an egg from our backyard. Like, look at those. They look so different. And so, I don't know, it's just encouraging not only for adults, but I think for adults that have kids, like, let's not put this on them to try to figure out when they're 18 or 30. Like, they're going to have their own shit to struggle with, right? Like, let's figure out what things we can help them with, I guess, as as a parent.
So,
And giving people the tools.
Hmm.
You know, she's gonna grow older and make her own decisions, right? I want everyone to make their own decisions. I'm very much a do whatever you want to do. You know, as long as it's not negatively impacting me, I could give a shit less what anyone ever does. Zero cares. But everyone's going to make their own decisions regardless. Like when they, for the most point, some people are going to grow older. They're going to make their decisions, and they have to make their decisions for them. Because if you're not making a decision for yourself, um, you're just doing it to please somebody, or for whatever reason. That's not going to last. So, to her point, like giving people the tools and the understanding of, hey, this is what this is. Like reading these ingredients, looking at this stuff, and saying, look, is this what you want to put in your body? I mean, if you do, I mean, we can't stop you at some point. Like now we can kind of shelter you can shelter your kids a little bit from things and kind of direct them, but they're going to get older. They're going to be adults. So teach them, right? So they don't get into college or at their past, their mid 20s, and it's the same thing as like, they don't know how to do laundry or you don't know how to cook your own food. Well, there's going to be a day where I'm not around. So we're going to have to teach you these things. And we also want to teach you that, hey, all food is not created equal, and exercise is good for you and it makes you feel better. And if you're feeling down, go out and get some fresh air, run around, peel your face away from the screen. Your eye, I have a headache. Well, because you're staring at a screen and your eyeballs are, tired. Like,
Yeah.
hey, let's do something. So in recognizing this is why these are some things you have to look out for. These are some things you have to be conscious of. So then hopefully they make their own good decisions. I think to me, I think that's one of the best things you could give. You talk about the next generation. Like, all right, here's the mistakes we made. Like, instead of trying to continue to cover all these things up, let's talk about, I think the idea of bringing this out to more of a global view, like going green is a good thing. But the path we take there, let's consider that. Because just stopping oil production and stopping, these power plants and stuff like that, and just shutting things down and not replacing them with things that are practical and things that don't harm the earth even more. Well, now we're just like putting people into poverty, and they don't have, water and electricity and different things. They're like, there's some of the reports I've seen from like places in like Germany and UK, like, get an extra sweater this winter because we're just going to be turning power off here and there. Like, what are we doing here, folks? Like, let's think about how we get to the places that we need to go, instead of just haphazardly going, this is what we have to do. Like, let's critically think about those things.
Yeah.
To me, that's the best gift you could give somebody, is think for yourself. That whole with the fishing thing.
Yeah.
Teach a man to fish instead of just giving.
It's an information war.
Yeah. No one's going to do it for you, right?
Yeah.
And if they do, they're going to expect something out of it. But I appreciate watching you take that path, and I know it's not an easy one, but it's really neat seeing how you dive into different things, explore different things, and I think that's what's really neat watching it, is when watching you do it and try things and go, maybe that wasn't it.
Yeah.
Oh, this feels good. Maybe like, and then being able to put your own little puzzle together of, all right, well, I like doing this and this and this, and this is what makes me feel good, and I feel great, and making changes and bettering myself every day. Like, I applaud you for it. It's inspiring. So
I appreciate that. I think anybody that's, looking to optimize their self and their physical, mental, and emotional well-being, the only way to do that is to try different things and figure out what works for you.
Mhm.
Because what I have to say, or what you have to say, or what the scientists have to say, or what the spiritual community has to say may not work. You literally have to experiment with different, ways of eating, different ways of training, different ways of relaxing, different ways of communicating with others or socializing, to really figure out what works best for you and what aligns most with who you are at the core.
Yeah.
So you have to experience life. You have to go out there and experience life and try new things in order to figure out who you are and what you love, essentially. So,
Amen, Hyles. I
thank
think
you.
that's it right there.
We can't be looking at our phones trying to figure out life. We got to go out there and do it.
No, you're the only one that can figure out your life.
Uh-huh.
I appreciate that. Well, Hyles, it's great seeing you again. Thank you, and I'm sure we'll be talking. I'd like to keep me posted on when you do get your numbers, because that'd be interesting to see.
Okay.
Just, obviously I grateful that you're feeling better than ever. That's the main goal, but it would be interesting to see where you're at after a year.
Certainly.
I'm sure people would be interested in that too, because like you said before, that 6 months, 8 months, that first 6 to 8 months, I'm sure was not fun.
It was not fun. I never want to do it again. I won't ever have to do it again, but
there's light at the end of the tunnel.
I don't want anyone else to have to go through that. So that's what I'm talking about.
There you go. Well, I appreciate it. Keep talking about it, and we'll see you again, brother.
All right. Awesome.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us today. Remember, check out the website, chronic-curiosity.com, to join us at the forum, have some fun, interaction, pick you up a comfy t-shirt, or if you just want to support the show and donate, all that is on the website as well. Thank you. Until next time. See ya.